want to make sure that I acknowledge the sponsor of the show, Tiege Hanley, because Tiege Hanley sent me this new pack. They sent me the new Tiege pack, so I just literally pulled the paper out, got it out of the mail, and I started going through it, and I got a little bit more excited than I should. You know what I'm saying? So they did send me the Tiege pack, and I don't even know what this is yet. So I'm assuming this is what you get when you first order your Tiege, and I don't know what this is. Oh, this is dope. This is absolutely dope. Is this a nail kit? Ladies, get this for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. This is free. This just comes with it. 30% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Literally. Oh, snaps. I didn't know that they were sending it like this. Real talk. So this is the nail kit that they sending you. All right. So now you ain't looking like a dusty. This is a free gift straight from Tiege for the people that ordered the Tiege. They got the small one for the little hands like mine's. They got the big joints for your toenails. And then they got the joints at the bottom too. You know what I'm saying? For y'all that's a little bit more crustier than usual. All right. So that's one of the free gifts that Tiege got inside of the pack. And then what is this? Says squeeze a quarter size amount of Tiege Hanley body wash on the center of the wet bristles. Lather, scrub, rinse, and repeat for the perfectly satisfying wash every time. So that's inside of there also, right? Ooh, I can get my rubber ducky on right here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Tiege for sending me that uncomplicated skincare for men. And then what we got in here? We got the actual Tiege pack, right? So this is the normal Tiege pack, but then they gave me the supersized joint for the people. They wanted me to show the people exactly what they got when they ordered that first Tiege pack, when you're getting your 30% off your first order, and then you get your free gifts. You get 2 free gifts, and then the 20% off for life. So the 20% off for life is a new thing. And dang, I ain't even got my keys on me to open this up. Maybe I can use the little nail clipper thing. I ain't got to buy no nail clipper for my new joint downtown. And then you get all of the washes, all of the scrubs, all of the AM, the PMs, and all of that stuff. So you got the whole thing inside of there for you to make sure you take care of yourself. But you got to make sure you take care of it every day, right? We don't want to miss days. We don't want to be looking like dusties. It does not absolve you from being able to make sure that you brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. It don't fix the teeth problem. Don't fix you ironing your clothes. Don't fix you being able to take care of your business. But it absolutely makes sure that your skin is phenomenal, even when you go in between shaves. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Tiege Hanley. We absolutely appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to hold us down. I might do an official Tiege commercial, but I like just talking authentically to the people. I like giving the people the authentic look of what it is that you're dealing with, and I want you to hear from me personally, because anybody can do that little pitch and they can make some little videos, but very few of us can actually speak to the products of exactly what it is that you're supposed to use. So yeah, Tiege Hanley, 30% off your first order, and then 20% off for life. That's the Anton Daniels pack, 20% off for life. Using any other Tiege pack, make sure that you go ahead and let that go. And make sure you tap into the link that's in the description and take care of it, all right? What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels, and I absolutely 100% am celebrating you guys today. Thank you. We are going to continue to do great things. And hopefully, I'll add as much value as you guys add into my life, because, you know, my currency is the people. My currency is the people. And so I always like to celebrate the people. And hopefully you guys feel acknowledged, because I absolutely do. I 100%. I love you guys. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Y'all are the greatest audience on earth. And bar none, there is no better audience than you guys. So thank you for rocking out with us. Thank you for showing up for the Millionaire Morning Show. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to some great things. I think that I got a great show lined up for you guys. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started with the show. First and foremost, I want to thank the sponsor of the show, Tiege Hanley. 40%. I know the commercials say 30. We in the process of shooting a new commercial, and we putting together new media kits and all that other type of stuff. That's bag chaser information. We going over that. 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. The link is in the description. Ladies, get it for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. It is a phenomenal product. I would never push something that I do not use myself. So I love Tiege. You guys should love Tiege. And it is an awesome product. Rock out with it. Thank you, Tiege Hanley, for always holding us down. I'm going to read the Cash Apps shortly, the early Cash Apps. But I also want to encourage you guys, I am dropping a video, the interview that I brought my homegirl in as far as e-commerce, marketing your business, what type of products you need to go into, breaking down a drop shipping game, the pros and the cons, all of these little tidbits and trinkets as far as what you need to be doing for your business. That drops today. Stock Club is tomorrow. Wednesday, we drop another video. All 3 days, we dropping videos. All 3 days. So what I decided to do was I pre-recorded, but I didn't do it a way that I would normally do it. I did it to where I had to send it over to my editor. And then my editor made sure that we chopped it up. And so we got a whole nother look, whole nother thing that we got going on. So Bag Chasers, Patreon members, 3 days straight, back to back to back. And then this weekend, I'm planning on dropping an entirely new website. So we just doing things differently, doing things completely different. Make sure that y'all tap into the Patreon. The best day to join the Patreon is the beginning of the month. So we are in August. We're in the 8th month of the year. Gosh, Jesus. 8 months into the year. Do y'all realize that we already almost done with the year? That means y'all don't have that much time in order to make sure that y'all run up that 250 bands. Because if you ran up to 250 bands, then that means that we now starting to have a conversation on the Bag Chasers, and make sure y'all tap into the Discord that on how to take advantage of what's about to happen in the economy. I think it's going to get bad. I think it's going to get worse. I'm going to tell you what my prediction is for the economy this show. So if you have not shared this with your friends and family, if you have not hit a like for the algorithm, if you are not subscribed, then I feel bad. I feel very, very bad because you actually doing your people a disservice. You're doing your people a disservice by not letting Gam tap in so she can know what the price of the brick is going to be. Paul got to know whether or not he going to have to work another 10 years in order to take care of his new baby mama because he got a side chick and a new baby mama on his side, and he got to know whether or not he going to have to do that. He got to know. Your nephew, you need to understand whether or not he's going to have to take out student loans and then ultimately ask Kamala Harris, if she ever becomes president of the United States of America, for student loan forgiveness. You need to know what the interest rates are going to be. You need to know whether or not interest rates are going to drop. We need to be tapped into the Patreon. We need to really be having real conversations in the midst of the entertainment. We got to have real conversations so we can know what's going on. All right. So make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I'm very, very excited to come before you guys today. Let me acknowledge the early Cash Appers before we get started with the show, because I never asked for it, but I always like to acknowledge the people that hold me down. Shout out to Mike, that dude in the building. I appreciate you always supporting the platform. ESDC in the building. Shout out to you. TJ Brown, I love you, says, love your YouTube channel. Very positive. Keep it up. Thank you, TJ. And then everybody else that supports the platform. I also want to shout out the early Cash Apper or the Super Chatter. LeGarrette says, man, heard you're going to be on George, the Giant Slayer channel next week. You tapping into the conservative nerd spaces. How you know about that? How you know about that? Anton been working on the low. See, just because I don't announce it don't mean that I'm not tapped in. I am a master when it comes to marketing, tapping into new spaces, making sure that I take care of the business when it comes to bringing in a new audience and all of that, and then capitalizing off of it. This is what we, how you know that, LeGarrette? I never even said nothing. I never said nothing. Said, I heard you're going to be on George the Giant Slayer channel next week. You tapping into the conservative nerd spaces. Smart man, they love you over there. Shout out to my people over there. Shout out to George the Giant Slayer. I can't believe you found that out. How did you find that out? They must have said something. They must have announced it. Yeah, all right. So listen, we working. We working. What you thought that Fox News was the end of it? You thought that we was just only gonna tap on the Fox News? No. We work, we work like, let me figure out how I can say this because I got a new audience. I gotta make sure that I'm I gotta make sure y'all not getting aggravated and upset because people were sending me messages this weekend. I can't believe you said this. And I said, I must got a new sensitive audience out here. Y'all must not know what we do over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. We don't care about your feelings. My first slogan used to be F your feelings, but I used to say the word relentlessly. But then I realized we're moving into the morning show. We playing in the daycares. The church is holding us down. Shout out to my trucker. Shout out to my teacher. Shout out to everybody that have us on. Y'all be having me on in the teacher's lounge and stuff. So I said, I can't say F your feelings with the hard F, with the hard CK on the end of it. You know what I'm saying? So we working. Shout out to you for the people that's tapped in. I appreciate you, LeGarrette. Don't be finding out too much about me. I'm out here. I'm everywhere. Y'all just not aware of the spaces that I'm in. EJ in the building says new bag chaser as of last week. Shout out to the new chasers. Shout out to the new bag chasers. God bless you, Alpha Dog. I appreciate you. Jamal Park says, if you don't mind sharing what church you used to go to, do you have a perspective on attending church in person or online? Just curious. Appreciate you, sir. I was raised Pentecostal. The church that I used to go to was called the Evangelistic House of God. And it was a very small church. And I was raised in one of those small churches. I was raised in a church where you just like shouted. Like we dressed up, you shout. We had prayer service and Bible study on Wednesdays, prayer service. We prayed around the clock. We had fasts. We had tarrying. We had all of that stuff. So I'm raised old school, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles. Like we studied the Bible. We studied the books of the Bible. We read from back to forth. I've read the Bible back and forth as of right now 7 times. I still study the Bible. We work through the New Testament just as much as we work through the Old Testament. We studied all of the great people and all of the great kings. My favorite person in the Bible was Paul. Every single book of the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts of the Apostles, Epistles to the Romans, the letters to the Galatians. So I am very, very, very much like in tune, broken down, understand exactly what the code. But we used to visit other churches and stuff too. Eventually, the church kind of went away because the people that was running it ultimately, which was family, ultimately moved and stuff like that. And so people kind of went their own ways or whatever. And then I wound up going to Motor City Church. So Motor City Church is a really great church. And it's ran by white people. It's actually ran by white people. And they are from Texas, I believe. Young white guys came up to the city, moved to Detroit, said that God told them that they needed to come to Detroit. And then they just created a grassroots organization. Motor City Church. If I do go into a church, I'll go to Motor City Church. Y'all can follow them on Instagram. It's a great group of people. I helped donate to the early, like I was there in the inception when they started building it from scratch. I donated a lot of money in order for them to get their cameras and stuff. So I think that the church is not necessarily a building. The church is a community of people, because even Motor City Church, like they have church, they reorganize a gym into turning it into what it is that they use for Wednesday night, or they, go bowling and all of this stuff. So it's awesome. And if you guys wind up going to Motor City Church in Detroit, tell them Anton from AntonDaniels.com sent you. But I don't think that the church is a building. I think that the building is a thing that people use in order to try to justify some of the stuff that they do. And they say that the church ordains it. I think the church is a collective of people. And the Spirit of God is the thing that you have down within you when you then profess yourself to be a child of God. Give up certain things, make sure that you're doing the things the right way. And it's always working on a daily basis in order to better yourself, while at the same time keeping God at the forefront of your life. And so I think that as long as you're continuing to feed the Spirit with the fruits of the Lord, then you ultimately are always going to go the right way. But it's also good to congregate around. I mean, the same way that we network with people in real life, right? So we surround ourselves with the people that ultimately feed our spirit. You are the sum total of the people that you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with people that's in the hood all the time, then you're never going to grow. If you surround yourself with people that are focused on business, your mindset then develops to look at things from a financial perspective. It's good to have a balance. And I think that when you surround yourself with good people that also acknowledge God and is always keeping that at the forefront of what they do, it don't have to be holy rollers all the time, but to go and to congregate with people that have a great spirit, that are looking to do great things, and then ultimately keeping God at the forefront of their life is awesome. So the church itself is not a building; it's a collection of people that ultimately come together to celebrate God, to encourage each other, and to hopefully lead this earth in a better space had they not been here. So I think that both. I think that going online or checking out stuff online, and then ultimately congregating with people that's dope. I think that all of that stuff matters. So that's kind of how I was developed and what my foundation is. So don't get so caught up in the building aspect of it, but definitely allow yourself to be around other people that have great intentions. They don't have to already be there, but they share the fruits of the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you. That's a phenomenal question. Tia Marie says, so was Willie Brown Kamala's Nate? That's what they saying. That's what they saying in these streets. Let me see. LeGarrette says, I'm all in those spaces, and he announced it. Yep, I will be there. So shout out to George the Giant Slayer. Mel Smith says, where do we send stories for you to react to, bro? Y'all can email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com, and I always check those out, and I mine through the different stories and see what's happening in the streets. Maria Lovely says, good morning, Anton. I want to say thank you for your insightful content. Well, thank you for rocking out with me, Maria. I love you, baby girl, and your hair is beautiful. Jeremy H says, chase a vid on buying distressed homes, please. I'm not a fan of buying distressed homes, but I can do a video on it and break down the pros and the cons for it. Absolutely. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. All right, y'all ready to get started with the show? First things first is quick hits. I'll be reading super chats throughout the show, cash apps throughout the show. Again, I don't ask for it, but I always like to acknowledge the people that support the platform. Also, on top of it, make sure that you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. First things first on quick hits, smash and grab at K Jewelers in San Francisco. They not stopping, y'all. Let's get to it.
It happened in a matter of minutes. San Francisco police are investigating after thieves smashed cases at a jewelry store at Stonestown Galleria. The whole thing caught on video. NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith has the story.
Cell phone video caught these tense moments. We spoke with a witness off camera who says loud banging noises at Stonestown Galleria caught their attention. They saw what appeared to be 4 people using hammers or tools breaking glass cases at K Jewelers store in the mall. The store was closed today, but people in the area were just learning about what happened.
I think it's pretty wild. It's unfortunate to say that I'm not fully surprised because, there's just a lot of theft in SF.
Disappointed to hear, but hopefully
Dude said it's a lot of
San Francisco police say just before 7.
Is that how y'all talk? It's a lot of theft in SF. That's just the end of it. Just people just steal and we ain't gonna make no big deal about it. Okay, I got you.
Last night, officers responded to 20th Avenue for a burglary where several men were vandalizing glass displays and stealing. No arrests have been made yet.
We live in a large metropolitan area. I feel like these places tend to lend themselves to this type of crime, so not exactly surprised. It's kind of part and parcel of living in a large city like San Francisco. That said, it's always sort of disappointing to hear about something like this happening in our own community.
While people weren't surprised it happened, they also said they were not aware of incidents like this occurring here.
Stonestown is an extremely comfortable place. We're situated in a really safe part of the city, generally speaking.
We reached out to Brookfield Properties Retail, which runs the mall, and K Jewelers for comment, but have not heard back yet.
You ain't got to worry about it. Listen, any place that y'all saying that y'all getting overly comfortable in, you ain't got to worry about it. They coming to your city. They coming to your city. And it's funny because do you see how we've normalized criminal activity and it's not even a big deal anymore? You know what? I was expecting it. Not really that big of a deal. I mean, it's large metropolitan areas. This thing happens. No. You don't run into a mall, and we should not be normalizing running into a mall, busting it open. I remember when people used to think about crime and they would say, you know what, that's too risky. I'm not trying to do years in prison. I mean, you got to go into a mall, go and search it out, bust open the thing, hope that the guards and the police, I mean, at least that used to be what it is. I don't know. I guess crime is a little bit different than what it was when I was growing up. In addition to that, two separate shootouts at Chicago restaurants happened over the weekend, or actually overnight. Check it out, y'all.
Local activists came together this evening to call for action. This comes after the mass shooting at Lawrence's Fish and Shrimp restaurant. Then hours later, 3 people were attacked at another restaurant on Chicago's southwest side.
2-person shot. They both are unconscious. Fire's rolling.
You're listening to Chicago police. Frantic 911 calls were made after a shooting here outside Lawrence's Fish and Shrimp after 3 this morning. An argument between 2 groups turned deadly in the Canal Street parking lot. Turns out 4 males were shot. 39-year-old Joseph Garcia was killed. A 27-year-old is in critical condition after suffering multiple gunshot wounds. In the scanner audio, you can hear the 34-year-old man shot in the leg wailing in pain.
We got a shot on the left leg.
That man is listed in fair condition. A 21-year-old is in good condition. The violence this morning didn't stop there.
Irate male, 30s, made threats to the staff.
It turns out the man here made more than just threats. Chicago police tell us before 8:30 this morning, this McDonald's in the 7800 block of Southwestern Avenue turned into a bloody crime scene after a man inside demanded free food. And when that didn't happen, he pulled out a hatchet, injuring a 45-year-old woman so severely that she's in serious condition.
Nah, listen, man, you can't pull out a hatchet and hurt Gam Gam, bro. The last thing that we gonna deal with is you hatcheting Gam Gam up because you demanding free food. What the hell is happening in Chicago? How did Chicago devolve this much to where, I mean, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm used to hearing about the late night shootouts because nothing happens good after 3 a.m. Nothing happened good after 12 a.m., to be honest with you. We're not going to the after hour spot. We're not going nowhere. And so if you get up and you get hungry, right? And let's say you just hungry in the middle of the night, either we need to probably just go back to sleep, or if you just dead set on get something, then go ahead and get some DoorDash. Let them risk their lives for it. Ain't that what the gig workers is for? DoorDashers, they don't serve past the time. At least in the city that I'm in, they serve past the time.
Advocate Christ Medical Center. An 18-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman are in good condition. Activists say this wasn't the first time workers encountered the hatchet-wielding man.
I spoke to one of the family members of one of the victims. She's a female. She said that she was chased out of the McDonald's. The offender is known to be a regular. He comes in all the time. They call the police 911, and nothing has been done.
You ain't got to worry about it. We know that listen, nobody is going to get arrested in Chicago unless you assault a police officer. Nobody is going to get arrested in Chicago. When it's a police officer that get hurt, justifiably, they go and get their own. Listen, because, I mean, they down 2,000 officers. They preparing for the Democratic National Convention. They ain't got time to be chasing no hatchet welding person that's asking for free food, or dudes that decide that they want to be out at 3 a.m. running into each other because they rival crews and they want to shoot up each other and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Listen, if you are one of the good people that decide that you want to lean more towards conservative and you decide that you want to leave, just leave Chicago in Chicago. Leave your Chicago mentality in Chicago, all right? Okay? All right, last but not least, San Jose community service officer was killed in the line of duty by a drunk driver, I believe. Check it out.
Sunday evening, everyone. I'm Heather Holmes.
And I'm Mike Meeback. Tonight, the San Jose Police Department mourning the loss of one of their own.
2 community service officers were hit by a suspected drunk driver, killing one officer and injuring the other.
KTVU's Joey Horta live tonight in San Jose with the latest developments and reaction. Joey?
Mike and Heather, the flags here at San Jose Police Headquarters are flying at half staff right now as police honor and pay tribute to one of their fellow brothers in blue. Police tell us this is the very first time in San Jose Police history that a community service officer has lost their life in the line of duty. Take a look at this officer's photo that we have gathered. Police have not revealed the officer's identity themselves, but a friend of community service officer Long Pham tells us that Pham lost his life. Pham was in his 30s. He's described as a really great dude who was well known in San Jose. Police confirmed 2 of their officers were hit Saturday night while assisting with an unrelated traffic accident at Monterey Road and Palm Avenue. The other was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Police say the driver responsible was arrested. They do believe that person was driving under the influence. The suspect's identity has not been released at this point. This tragedy unfolded right in front of Kinsasso's farm.
I could feel the hurt whenever anybody, a human being is a human being no matter what, but above all, somebody that works to help protect people. It's just...
What's the difference between a regular police officer and a community service officer? Does anybody know inside of the chat? What's the difference between a regular police officer? Let me see. Community service officer is a non-sworn civilian law enforcement employee who performs a variety of support functions for a police department or other law enforcement agency. Community service officers often work with sworn police officers and may serve in uniform and drive a marked vehicle that duties can include traffic control. So they may direct traffic, public events, and other incidents. They may also issue citations for parking violations and other minor infractions. Crime prevention. CSOs may respond to non-emergency calls for service and take and prepare non-hazardous crime reports and perform initial investigations of burglaries, petty theft, and other crimes. They also do community outreach to service to citizens and enforce certain city codes, to provide police service information to the public. And they may monitor and store evidence and property and serve subpoenas and transport juveniles. So they serve in a police officer's role in non-confrontational situations. And they are not sworn in officers, but ultimately they are civilian law enforcement employees. Okay, so they're the ones that y'all want to show up to the house when y'all defund the police and y'all want a community service officer to show up and say, oh my God, what's going on? Hey, you go into the corner and you go into the corner. But ultimately, they do a lot of the administrative functions and they do all of the things that other police officers don't want to do, it sounds like, all right? But it's unfortunate that this guy got killed by a drunk driver.
Tears you up a little bit.
Police sent us a statement saying in part, quote, our entire police family is heartbroken and our collective arms are around his family, friends, and teammates as we all cope with this painful incident. The mayor also adding each day our officers place themselves in harm's way to fulfill their solemn oath to protect and serve us. They are truly heroes. Well, Pham graduated from the Community Service Officer Academy in the December of 2022. These officers are civilians who help police with low priority calls like car accidents to free up officers so that they can handle higher priorities. Now, the friend.
So these are people that are actually doing good for their community, and he got killed by a drunk driver. And I don't want nobody to get killed by a drunk driver, let alone somebody that's actually servicing the community. And notice again how it's always the drunk driver that survives, and it's people that are inebriated or under the influence, but the ones that's actually doing good for the community are the ones that die early. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Pray for their families. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your Quick Hits. All right. Let me read a couple of these super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the show. The show. Shout out to Mr. Joe said that's for the collection plate. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you, Mr. Joe. Let me raise that up so y'all can know that it's the Millionaire Morning Show. And LT144K says, Anton, I study your sock club videos. Shout out to the Patreon members. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Said I study your stock club videos over and over, learning more and more every time. What is your opinion on investing in precious metals such as APMX, MEX, or such? I am not one that invests in precious metals. I do not invest in gold. I do not invest in silver because I look at those as protections against inflation for most people that want to invest in it. If you are trying to speculate on the prices as far as how the economy goes, because usually what happens with precious metals or coins or gold or silver is that the prices of it rise or fall based off of the state of the economy. It's not based off of anything that the metals themselves are generating or putting off in profit. So if you want to speculate based off of the price of it, or you want to protect yourself against inflation, then that's fine. I tend to go into things that make me money, not things that rise and fall based off of the state of the economy. So I like to go into companies based off of the 8 things that I look for that I teach all inside of the Patreon, the 8 things that I look for when I'm looking to invest in a company. And I'm not going to go on these on the general public because that is for the bag chasers only. And we're going to talk about Stock Club directly after the show tomorrow, after I drop the video and the interview today. But I tend to want to go into things that generate revenue, that put off revenue instead of speculating based off of the prices. So if you want to protect yourself against the economy and inflation, it's a safe bet. But I think that if you really want to go with something safe, traditionally over time, just investing in the S&P 500 or mutual funds is probably going to be more profitable for you. But I tend to be a little bit more intentional with the companies that I invest in because I know the companies, I study them. And that's what I teach inside of the Patreon. Phenomenal question. Thank you, LT144K. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. My girl, P. Shank. Shout out to P. Shank says, good morning, Mr. Anton Daniels at the Millionaire Morning Show. Hey, P. Shank. What's up, baby girl? Make sure, again, that y'all tap into the Patreon and also Tiege Hanley 40% off your first order plus a free gift. All right, y'all, let's get into it. Let's get into the show. We got a long show. Before we start to get into Michaelah Montgomery and who she is and what her background is and how she came to be, and we get into the jobs and we go into California and Chevron is now leaving California for Texas. We're going to get into all of that. Everything that y'all think, different people talking about their experiences in the job market, new layoffs, 19,000 people was laid off from another company. We're going to dive into that. But we got to get into international relations first, right? And the reason that I think that international relations are so important is because it's directly tied to whether or not your tax dollars is being spent effectively. And more importantly, who you're going to vote for in this November election. And so we like to ignore all of the core issues and the problems that's ultimately causing inflation, that's causing you to lose a job, that ultimately will plunge us into a deeper recession, which ultimately leads to a depression. And we like to ignore those type of things, but I think that those type of things are absolutely important. And so over the weekend, they're basically saying that the United States of America is basically plunging themselves deeper into these proxy wars, which not only includes Ukraine and the chip war that we got going on with China over there in Taiwan, but also Iran and Israel. And I believe personally that we need to mind our own business and stop participating in all of these proxy wars, which ultimately lead to you giving all of your American dollars over into it. But let me tell you what's happening over in Iran and Israel right now.
The U.S. is now sending a carrier strike group, warships, and a fighter squadron to the Middle East, bracing for a potential escalation, a further one, of hostilities as Iran vows retaliation over the killing of a senior Hamas leader in Tehran earlier this week. It blames Israel for the attack. Israel has not commented. Growing tensions between Israel and Hezbollah and Iran are also prompting a new warning on Lebanon. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut is warning America.
This is so dumb, man. This is so dumb. Honestly, my question then becomes, who's really the ones that's making money off these wars? And don't just say the big companies. Nah, man. Look, man, I understand world peace, but I also understand that it's important, very important, for a lot of people to make a lot of profits. And, you know, on the Millionaire Morning Show, we don't just want to say, oh, man, we just don't want to. Who else is really benefiting from this? Because you can't tell me that this is good for the American people. Remember we supposed to be Americans first? We gonna look out for the rest of the world. We gonna participate in making sure that we keep the world safe. I'm all for it, cool. But at the same time, we got to take care of home before we start getting the beam out of your own eye. Who are the ones that, honest to God, are genuinely benefiting from the trillions of dollars that we spend on an annual basis on all of these wars? What the heck is happening, and how is this administration truly justifying, considering all of the monies that's going out of the United States of America and how much is really happening in this economy in this country? Just more billions. And then they package it with the Homeland Security border deal and say, well, no, it's supposed to be a bipartisan deal. Nobody, and I mean nobody. You know how they had the memes where they say nobody and then they say, whatever it is. Nobody in the United States of America. If they took a poll today and they say, hey, listen, do you think that we should continue to hold it down and participate in these wars? Nobody, and I mean nobody, is saying that, yo, I want to continue to fight with Iran in endless, profitable for somebody wars. Nobody is wanting this. Nobody. Zero, zilch, nada.
Americans who want to get out of the country to book, quote, any ticket available. This as airlines begin canceling flights in and out of the country. CNN's Ben Wiedemann is in Beirut. And Ben, you've covered so many periods like this in Lebanon through the years. I wonder, as you watch events there and reactions, are folks really bracing for something big?
Yes, they are. People are very worried that even though over the last 10 months we've had periods of high tension, followed by periods of relative calm, but now this one seems worse than anything before. Now, the U.S. Embassy, in addition to telling people just book any ticket you can, they warned that evacuations for...
Where are they booking these tickets to? Just a question. Where are they booking these tickets to? When they say, oh man, just book a ticket, they leaving some very important information out of that equation. Book a ticket where? Where are they booking the tickets to? Where are these airlines flying these people to? Book a ticket where? Chicago, New York, Denver, Atlanta. Where are they booking these tickets to? I'm just curious, where you going? Where you going?
U.S. nationals, in the event things get even worse, could be very difficult. And back in 2006, when the airport was struck in the early days of the war by Israeli warplanes, the U.S. did manage to evacuate some of the U.S. nationals out of here, but it was quite chaotic. Now, for instance, Kuwaiti Airlines is the latest airlines to announce that it's going to stop flying to Beirut. Tomorrow, they said, is their last flight, and it's not clear when they will resume flying to Beirut. That's just the latest airline to make such an announcement. Today, we also heard from the Minister of Economy and Trade, who warned people not to hoard food. He reassured the public that there is an adequate amount of food available. At the moment, you don't really get the sense that...
When they tell you don't hoard food, start hoarding food, fam.
There is panic, but there is real fear.
What up to all of my friends at AP?
When Hezbollah, when Iran retaliate for this series of assassinations here in Beirut and in Tehran, that this time it's not going to be like in April, where it was a very orchestrated, telegraphed strike by Iran 12 days after that Israeli strike on the diplomatic complex in Damascus. This time, it's widely believed that not only will Iran strike, but all of its allies in the region. Hezbollah, of course, and we've heard Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, say that's what they're going to do, but also the Houthis in Yemen and various pro-Iranian militias in Syria and Iraq. So the stage is set for perhaps a very dangerous period, not just here in Lebanon, but across the Middle East. Jim?
Surprise! Surprise! More war. more war.
And listen, an attack like that would inevitably set up the conditions for a response against all of those parties, and yet one more cycle of violence. Ben Wiedemann in Beirut, thanks so much.
Insane, huh?
So let's break down some of these developments. With me here is Andrew Miller. He's the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Israeli-Palestinian Affairs. This is a really dicey time there, which, I mean, we could say so many times in recent
Kamala
months
Harris
and
on the
years, but
phone.
particularly
What she
now.
gotta say about this?
What is your expectation about the degree of Iran's response here? Because if that assessment is correct and it's going to be multi-pronged with Iran and its proxies, that's a major escalation.
Well, I think one thing to understand is that despite the successful interception of the April attack by the U.S., Israel, and partners, that was very much a perfect storm. Everything went right. Which
Let me tell you something, man. Here's my question. I got a couple questions as an American because I have a unique view on this based off of the fact that I don't want any more new wars. I don't want the United States of America to continue to send our tax dollars over into something that we can control. I don't want to be a part of NATO to where we're the ones that's funding the majority of what goes over into there. I don't want them to say, well, we're not sending in no new troops, but we're going to send a whole bunch of money in order to build a bunch of weapons and all of this stuff and participating in it. I am not interested in it. Aside from that, because nobody wants war. Nobody wants to do it, especially when the economy is going into a recession and probably into a depression. But here's my question, right? And this is what I want you guys to think about when they parade out Meg Thee Stallion in front of y'all and they keep on hitting on the same points and saying, Trump want to take abortion away from the women. No, he said that he wanted to make sure that he gave it to the states to have a conversation about. We all know that they're going to continue to say a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense. Here's my question for y'all. When you think about the leader of the United States of America and the decisions that they have to make when it comes to facing world leaders, managing wars, determining whether or not we should even be participating in these wars in the first place, bringing troops home, international policy, being diplomatic as far as going back and forth and negotiating for hostages, who you trade out, who you keep, whatever, right? How much money you send over to Russia when you then get Paul Whelan back, who you send over there, and then what you get back in return. Why we got Brittany Griner and why we traded for the Russian merchant of death and how that benefited the United States of America versus continue to give y'all diversity, equity, and inclusion to make sure that y'all vote a certain way. When we think about all of these things and we think about the proxy wars and we think about Taiwan and, you know, going back and forth with China for Taiwan in order to be able to secure more chips while we try to build up our own chip infrastructure and it's being incentivized by the federal government. When we start to talk about all of these things and we really take into consideration what's happening in these streets, right? And we start to think about who our leaders should be at the forefront of these movements as far as going back and forth with these men, these monstrous, massive budgets, alliances, men negotiating across the board. Would you love to see, just a general idea, would you love to see Kamala Harris parade herself out there and stand in front of these leaders and say we are or we aren't, or whether or not we're going to participate in a war? Because, I mean, she's a part of the very administration that she don't want to acknowledge. She's a part of the very administration that's got us into these wars in the first place, these proxy wars, by the way. It's not actual physical wars. I want to give them a little bit of credit. Or would you like to see somebody who has successfully managed to keep us out of war from 2016 through 2020 in the first place? Just curious. Would you prefer to see Kamala, honestly, because we need to take this into consideration, amongst all of the different things that we're talking about, jobs, inflation, immigration, communities, funding of different things, layoffs, all of this stuff that's happening in the economy and on American soil, immigration crisis into your cities, taking away whatever, white jobs, black jobs, Indian jobs, I don't really care. All of the layoffs, y'all can't feed y'all family. You go to the grocery store and it costs you triple what it cost you 10 years ago, okay? When we think about this, right, and we really put it in perspective, when it comes to foreign policy, international wars, bringing troops home, managing our military, making a smart decision, pressing a button, having the nuke codes, and how other leaders view our leaders here in the United States of America, in addition to who we got in Congress, right? Because those members matter also. Who would you rather have at the helm to manage these the United States of America versus all of these other countries? Would you rather have Trump or would you rather have Kamala? Because, I mean, while they give you and parade for you games and they do shoot commercials with Taraji P. Henson and they say, oh, girl, they not like us. Would you rather have Trump at the helm or would you rather have Kamala Harris? Honest to God question. Because I'm going to just tell you, I'm tired. I'm tired of the wars. I'm tired of our monies and our tax dollars. I'm tired of them holding our borders over a barrel and trying to justify not funding, closing off our borders in order to package it with a deal to send it over into these 3 different countries. I'm tired. It gets a little old after a while. They depend on us to have PTSD. They depend on us to normalize things so that it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. Oh, this is just a part of what's supposed to happen. We supposed to spend the majority of our monies on these things. No, it's not normal. It's not normal. I'm tired. I'm tired about hearing about it. I'm tired about hearing about how it is that we're going to continue to participate in these wars. And we act like we're not having no wars because American troops is not a part of it, but our tax dollars are. I'm tired. It's over. It's tiresome for me personally, but I'm just asking y'all, don't worry about it. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just wanted to give y'all my thoughts on that, and I wanted to keep y'all updated on what's happening when it comes to world news, because that's something that's often not talked about amongst our black leaders in morning shows, and we tend to focus on the surface level stuff, and we're not paying attention to what's really happening behind the scenes. All right, let me read a few of the super chats, and then we're going to move on with the show. High Tolerance says, good morning, AD, and shout out to all of the wrenches, a.k.a. The bus monitors. Shout out to High Tolerance. I appreciate you. Keelan Murray says, morning, AD, sitting in court right now, watching the show, waiting to get the speeding ticket dealt with. Got to turn my phone until it's over. Hopefully I don't miss a lot this morning. You know, I used to remember when they didn't even used to let us have smartphones inside of court. Don't ask me how I know. Shout out to Keelan Murray. Tell the judge to tap into the Millionaire Morning Show after you get your sentence or after you get your ticket thrown out, big dog. Larry Summers in the building says, crude oil and natural gas dropped on the crash this morning. I picked up some to flip. All right, we're going to talk about it in the stock club tomorrow. Shout out to Mr. Lott says, so we give money to proxy wars and help Russia unlock Mortal Kombat characters. This is pathetic. Shutter Speed Gaming is in the building. Shout out to Shutter Speed Gaming. Says, the Divine Nine has to hold this L forever in the foundational black American community. They're crashing out for Kamala Harris for symbolism and vibes. They are sellout Democratic shields. They are throwing themselves under the... Would you put your reputation of organizations that's been in existence for over 100 years on the line for Kamala Harris? No way, no how. No way, no how. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. All right, so let's go into Michaelah Montgomery, because some of y'all tuned in yesterday, and I broke down her speech. I want to play a little bit of that speech for you, and I also want to play some previous footage for her so y'all can know exactly who this woman is that decided to go on a rampage, and she just came out of nowhere. I mean, a star was born, came out of nowhere. I thought I had the media's attention for like 5 seconds, and then Michaelah came and took my shine. I ain't mad at you, baby girl. I ain't mad at you, Michaelah. Michaelah came and took my shine. So this is the woman that organized a visit to Chick-fil-A with Trump. And so I have not seen this footage, but I want to share it with you guys before we go into her actual speech. And I just want to keep the eyeballs on this woman because I think that she more or less really spoke the sentiment of a lot of people's hearts.
All right. Well, one key issue shaping 2024 is the fact that Biden knows he's in trouble with minority votes.
Now, y'all got to remember, this video that I'm playing with you guys, that I'm playing for you guys, is over 3 months old, almost 4 months old, okay? So this slipped through the cracks, all right? This was back in April, they saying. So this was when they were talking about Biden. They had no conversation about Kamala Harris whatsoever. She was just on the campaign trail, continuing to act like she didn't know what was going on at the borders. And so I want y'all to take this into consideration, understand the context. Before Michaelah became a celebrity over the weekend, this is the conversation that they was having with her on Fox News months ago.
And so it should come as no surprise that we saw Biden talking to Univision this week. And today he stopped by Al Sharpton's National Action Network. Watch.
Al Sharpton.
Together, we've kept our promises to make some of the most significant investments in the black American community.
Hey, remember Biden? He's almost like a distant memory now. Like he got his blankie. But he was at Al Sharpton's National Action Network. The National Action Network. It was at Al Sharpton's actual National Network.
Despite the fact that Latinos and Black Americans are major voting blocs for the left, Biden still can't get the same reaction that Trump does. Take this viral moment from Trump's visit to an Atlanta Chick-fil-A this week.
So I don't care what the media tells you, Mr. Trump. We support you.
We love you.
Okay, 4 p.m. We've been 4 p.m.
Come here, let me give you a hug.
Please do.
So before they ever brought her up, this was the way in which they discovered her. Hey, let me tell y'all something. First and foremost, I love this girl because she makes herself available. She markets herself. And ultimately, she takes advantage of the small opportunities and make them big opportunities. This is just as much a lesson as it is an opportunity. Like, this is a lesson in taking advantage of the opportunities in marketing because, you know, my high school vice principal always told me that, Anton, success is when opportunity meets preparation. And so you don't know when your moment is going to come. And so you always got to be ready. So you ain't got to get ready. When they finally put that camera on you, they put that spotlight on you, you have to execute and shine. You don't know. You might have one shot over the last 10 years to finally get that visibility. And she took advantage of it and she spoke her mind. She was very forthcoming. She was very respectful. And this moment right here ultimately translated into her being on that stage. Smart girl.
Joining me now is the woman from that interaction, Michaelah Montgomery, founder of Conserve the Culture. Michaelah,
yes.
Why did you want your photo taken with Donald Trump that day?
Well, above all else, he was our president, the leader of the free world.
Sure.
So I don't know who, as a person who respects high offices, wouldn't take the opportunity to take a picture with the president. So, of course, I'm going to want my picture, but I supported Donald Trump last election.
Talk to him.
And I definitely feel like I'll probably be supporting him again this election. So with that being said, yes, I want my picture with the president.
So, Michaelah, you are part of an organization called...
She's so human. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's realistic. She's real. She's realer than Kamala Harris, to be honest with you.
Called Conserve Culture. I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit.
Conserve the culture.
Conserve the culture. Okay. I don't know if that means you're conservative or not. I'm curious what your circle of family and social circles, where are they at with Donald Trump, especially compared to where they were in the last election?
Well, I come from a generationally Democratic family, so my parents are actually not Trump supporters, but they don't not support me because I support him. And that is something I can be very grateful for.
She is very well spoken.
To have in my family. So, yeah.
All right.
But you know what? What makes her so endearing to the general public is that her story is very much a similar story for the rest of us, and that this is honestly the story of most black young people that then start to break away, except for the fact that her parents tend to support her and her family tend to support her, whereas the majority of us, we looked at as bad guys. I'm just telling you right now, the majority of us, the majority of black people that go against the narrative, it's a lot of people. We got over 3,000 people inside of this live stream on YouTube alone right now. It's a lot of y'all right now that have probably had a reservation about even expressing where you stand on political issues while your family is preaching and teaching and even expecting for you to vote for Kamala Harris just because she's a Democrat. That's a fact. And it's another segment of us who are expected to vote a certain type of way, and they're surprised, and so they then send in my case, you know, I remember in our family, they used to send a kind of like a go-between to try to tell us and teach us, oh man, where are you at? They're going to pray for you. When you come from the church, they're going to pray for you when you got a different opinion, right? They may not necessarily try to understand you because they're like, where we go wrong? What is wrong with this person? For me, I was looked at as the black sheep because it's like, oh my God, Anton always... Before I ever hit the internet, I was having problems with my own family and my own church. This is the honest to God truth. I was having problems with my own family and my own church because I always thought for myself, and even when we would do Bible study, I was like, well, that doesn't necessarily translate for me. Well, why doesn't it translate for you? And then I would absolutely wash some of the ministers. I'm going to be honest with you. Ministers had problems with Anton from AntonDaniels.com because my translation of it was much deeper, and it was the same way as it is on Monday night, as it used to be on Thursday night. People will wait to respond to me, or they will wait till I say something to see where I could figure it out because they didn't want to get embarrassed during Bible study, because Bible study then started to turn into the debate stage. I made my bones in the streets and in the church. I was debating with the ministers. That's why ain't nobody worried about any of these people on the streets or on the... Listen, I was really in the trenches. Early, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, I was always looked at as the bad guy because I was the person that tended to be a lot more conservative, and I couldn't understand why we voted the way that we voted. Once I got old enough to really be able to break out and think for myself, it wasn't the same as support for Michaelah, because they was like, listen, Anton is just going to be the bad guy and the black sheep, but Anton is successful, and Anton is smart, and Anton hold it down, and he's loyal. So as a result, he could still be a part of the church and the family. At the same time, though, in reality, the truth is, and they love me. They genuinely love me, and shout out to my family. They did love me, and my church did love me, and I, paid your tithes and offerings and all of that stuff too. But for a lot of us in the black community, it's very difficult for us to get support when we think differently. And so we catch hell. Look, you know how black people tend to look at white people and they say, oh my God, you're racist? It's like that times 10, because we're looked at as traitors against our race because we won't participate in diversity, equity, and inclusion and identity politics. And so we're looked at as bad guys. We're free thinkers. And now we're starting to figure out that, wait a minute, it's more of us than we thought. Maybe we need to band together. We don't have to wait for our people that we were born with to then support us, because your family, even according to the word of God, is the people that's going in the direction that you're going in. Your family is not the people that's born with you. Your family is the people that you then come together with as a community to ultimately achieve a purpose or achieve a goal. And so I've always been comfortable being the bad guy because I was used to it. I was used to going against the grain, and I didn't think that it was going against the grain. I thought it was just thinking for myself. But the narrative sometimes, even within black families and black culture, is don't think for yourself, just be obedient. Don't think, just do. Do what I told you to do. Don't think. And then I was like, well, that's not what the word of God says. It does say be obedient. No, it doesn't. It says in everything you do, get understanding. So I need to understand why I'm going towards this way so I can be fervent and I can really go into it. And so again, it starts to create a rift. It created a rift. And next thing you know, we at the TVA timeline and they trying to erase us and send us into the outer world. Sorry, I was watching Deadpool and Wolverine last night. I took my daughter to see Deadpool and Wolverine. But let me play a little bit more of her.
Well, I also understand that there was a other young woman there with you that had her photo taken with Donald Trump, was there and part of that interaction, and she got some negative blowback. What happened?
So unfortunately, the young Spelmanite who enjoyed, utilizing her opportunity to take a picture with the president has faced some severe cases of bullying ever since then. She's being ostracized from her community. People are claiming that she made a mockery of her institution and, how dare she take a picture with a man like Trump. And it really speaks to college, especially in HBCU, is supposed to be a space where Black people can go and express themselves freely without feeling like they have to be a certain way to be accepted by their colleagues. Because that, unfortunately, is how we feel when we're in non-Black spaces and we feel the need to code switch. So going to an HBCU is supposed to be a time where you can go and express yourself freely, whether that be social commentary or political identity. So it's really, really sad to see how when some people who are studying policy decide to exercise their First Amendment right and express themselves and their individuality, they could be ostracized or demonized for something like that.
Yeah.
That girl, she listen. Whoever it is that's paying attention in the Trump campaign that ultimately looked at her interviews, looked at who she was, seen how effectively she was able to communicate, because this woman is smart. In real life, she just straight up smart. She knows how to get off a coherent thought. She doesn't mumble. She doesn't say, and, you know what I'm saying, and none of that stuff. Whoever this woman is and how she speaks is absolutely, like, you could see it right here. You can automatically see it. But more importantly, look at the point that she's making. The other girl that ultimately also took a picture with Trump was ostracized, ridiculed, accused, and spoken on negatively by the black community, by people at HBCUs. See, this is the stuff that's swept under the rug. This is the stuff that don't hit the national news. These are the conversations that we don't have, but we gonna have them this week. We gonna have them this week. Don't worry, I'm just writing some notes because I don't want to forget what I want to express. The black community are biased against the very people that they say that they love and they support because they got a different thought than them. That's the honest to God truth. That's why we relate to Trump. Because we know that y'all gonna throw us out on our heads the minute that we don't serve a purpose for you anyway. If we don't fit what's best for you, or in your opinion, if we're not on code and we don't identify with identity politics, then you have a free thought for yourself, you will be cast away. And that is an absolute fact. But I tell you what, this is what I know for sure. One thing is for sure and two things is for certain. The people that say that they hate us, you on the wrong side of history, big dog. You are on the wrong side of history. Definitively. You are on the wrong side of history. And by the time you realize it and by the time you recognize it, it's going to be too late.
School bus driver in a traffic jam.
I'm so happy you all came out to see me. So, my name is Michaelah Montgomery. A lot of you guys know me as the girl from Chick-fil-A, but I am so much more than that. Not only do I serve as the CEO of Conserve the Culture, I am also the state director for Blexit down here in Georgia. I'm a Fulton County coordinator for America First Works, and I'm also launching a podcast on the Patriots Prayer Network, so put some respect on my name.
I would be interested to see her podcast, and I'm going to make an effort to try to get her on the show. I know that she's hot right now, so she probably got a bunch of people contacting her. That's how it is when you go viral or whatever. But a week from now, when it starts to peter out a little bit, and if she's still available and if she's interested, I'm going to reach out to her and see if she can get on the platform.
Now, why don't we jump right into it? See, as a young single mother, I can tell y'all that rent is too damn high. I can tell you that as a young black voter, groceries are too damn high. And as an American citizen, period, seniors like my parents should never...
I'm going to read the super chat shortly. I see y'all. Thank y'all. Right after this segment, we're going to read the super chats and we're going to go into the next segment.
...have to choose between medicine or food. It should never be the quality of life versus the quantity of life.
Thank you, Big B. Thank you, everybody.
And I don't want to hear, oh, but we capped the price of insulin and lowered the price of all these medicines. Yeah, but you raised the price of everything else, so it's about time to start telling the truth to Americans and let them know exactly what they're signing up for if they want to vote for Kamala Harris.
You got to be a strong black man to be in a relationship with this woman. She's too smart to be sitting there getting into an argument with her. I'm just going to tell you. I know that that's a part of the conversation. Listen, you know us. Over here at the Millionaire Morning Show, we look at all things. This woman is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get into a relationship with her. She's going to out-debate you, and then you're going to be thinking that you thought one thing, and she's going to turn your thoughts around. You're going to have to be very, very careful. You're going to have to be very, very careful. This is one of them ones that's too smart. They too smart for their own good sometimes.
We need to vote based on facts and not feelings. See, under Harris and Biden, the average Georgia household is losing $1,060 per month, and inflation is at 21.4%. And due to the war on energy, average gas prices have reached record highs for the state. We also did a poll, and 80% of us black Americans are not happy with the current state of the economy, so I'm going to need 80%.
That's a good thing, Exclusive Honey. We want all of our advertising dollars. Shout out to Cam. She's very good for business.
Of y'all to vote accordingly in November. They love me. They love me. They really love me.
Oh,
the left wants you to get in your feelings about things that have been said, but I want you guys to pay attention to what has been done. They don't want to talk policy. They just want to use propaganda to steal your vote. The left is trying to...
Cap, you can't tame this woman. This woman gonna have your lunch.
Tout this woman as a savior for the black community, but all she's done is hurt the black community since she came into the game. See, the first step in destroying the black community is to dismantle the black family. So aside from her record as a prosecutor, why don't we ask Mrs. Willie Brown if Kamala Harris cares about black families? I wonder if Mrs. Willie Brown, a black woman, is also with her. A few days ago, President Trump said he didn't know Vice President Harris was a black woman. I'm trying to figure out what all the outrage is about because she's only black when it's time to get elected. Did I lie? The same black people who are mad at Trump for being confused about her race, ethnicity, nationality, whatever, are seemingly forgetting that while you're touting her as a savior for black people, she identifies as an Asian woman. She chose her side and it wasn't ours. When asked if she would ever do anything specifically for black people, she said no. Whereas Trump gave us the Platinum Plan, which specifically uplifted the black community by increasing capital by almost $500 billion, creating 500,000 new black businesses, and would give black churches the ability to fight for federal resources for their communities. And why are we acting like strong borders aren't a thing literally everywhere else in the world? Since when has being patriotic been a crime? See, a few weeks ago at the debate, Trump mentioned black jobs, and a lot of people got in an uproar as if they didn't know what he meant. Well, we go to the polls and cast our black vote. We go to the stores and spend our black dollar. We live in our black community, but for whatever reason, we draw the line at a black job. Oh, but wait, because if you're wondering what a black job is, please, I encourage you all to drive through Atlanta at all these beautiful black-owned businesses and check and see who works there. Probably a black person working for a black entrepreneur, recycling the black dollar, creating black generational wealth. If they come here illegally and they're taking your jobs and your resources, then please believe my cousins in the Appalachians, they're coming for you too.
Drum major, tell her to hit me up. Even in college, she's never been afraid to voice her opinion. For those of us that know her personally, this is not new. All right, tell her to holler at me. Tell her to hit me up. Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com, and I'm going to be looking for her email. And then I'm going to reach out to her too. Tell her to hit me up. I'd love to have her on the show on the platform.
And y'all know Kamala Harris has yet to say Laken Riley's name. As borders are, she opened the border to millions of illegal immigrants that have flooded American streets with deadly drugs and gangs that have spiked overdoses by over 124% and brought more crime into minority communities. So how's that for black folks? But let's take race out of it. Just as a woman, period.
Let me address this comment right here. Vinny D. Expat says, too much with the sassy, intelligence wasted dag. I thought we had one. I'm always amazed. It's no satisfying, y'all. It's no satisfying, y'all. Y'all can't take a joke. Y'all can't take some. They at a rally. They're at a rally. They're not in church. They're at a rally. It's supposed to galvanize people, entertain, while at the same time educating people and bringing them together to ultimately push them out there to go and reach out to the people and reach out to the voters and stuff like that. So y'all want her to be drab. Y'all want her to be quiet. Listen, if you want drab and quiet, it's people for that too. I'm sure that it was other people speaking, but ultimately we want people's voices to be magnified that ultimately are intelligent while at the same time being able to entertain and then grab people's attention. It's not meant to just be quiet. What do y'all want? It's no satisfying y'all sometimes. What do y'all want from this girl? Jesus Christ. What do you mean too much sassy? How is an intelligence wasted? You don't lose intelligence just because you're galvanized or you're excited or, you entertain the people. What you want, a TED Talk? If you wanted to do a TED Talk, then go on that platform. It's amazing, man. Y'all look, even when we not even talking about that, listen, if we start talking about relationships, y'all got to be able to separate the two. Separate the two, right? We're not talking about children. We're not talking about relationships. We're talking about how you vote and whether or not you can substantiate your argument as far as that. Separate the messenger from the message. Like, it's very important for y'all to know how to switch up and have a conversation about one thing. If somebody is, and this is why I only talk about and I try to talk about the things that people are saying. I react to what's being communicated. I react to what's being communicated. Do I agree or do I disagree with this particular message, when we reviewing this particular thing, this is not the time to be talking about relationships. Yes, we talk about relationships sometimes. We're going to be on the Q show tonight. Make sure y'all tap into the Q show. I'm sure one of the subjects is going to be on relationships. But in reality, this is a much more important issue, and we need to stop talking about whether or not somebody's intelligence is lower because they got high energy. Oh man, that's so small-minded. Grow up. Sometimes y'all got to grow up. It's a time to play, and it's a time to get serious.
How can you be a champion for women's rights when you're taking away opportunities from biological women and giving them to transgendered ones?
And is she right? Is she right? Is she right? Listen, this is the type of woman that you need on your team. She can actually get to it. She can go and get that money for you, big dog.
I'll wait, y'all, because I wasn't done. See, how can you promote equity for women and you're allowing men to play in women's sports? And what kind of feminist would still allow men to enter their sacred spaces, i.e. our bathrooms and school locker rooms? Do I even need to mention the opening ceremony at the Olympics? Or the fact that Angela Carini was forced to fight a man and told us that she's never been punched so hard in her life. We cannot allow dangerous liberals who think things like this are okay into the White House, because my daughter will not be fighting a man at her wrestling match.
And I do have it on 1.25 speed, so shout out to Brittany B for pointing that out.
And what I think both men and women can agree on is that national security is important. So who would y'all rather see lead us into war if it were so to happen? My silk-pressed sister Kamala or the big dog Donald Trump?
I like her. I like her. I like her. I absolutely like her. You absolutely right, $1 million. We gonna get back to relationships. I promise you. Listen, when the election season is over and we don't have more pressing business that we really need to address, we're going to talk more about relationships. We're going to sprinkle it in, but we need to be more well-versed than just whether or not somebody getting boxed or, whether or not you should be dating this or dating that. That ain't even your concern right now. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Y'all need to be more focused on getting your money right, whether or not you're going to be out here in a recession slumped up, whether or not you can feed your family, who you supposed to be voting for, if you're going to be getting laid off. Because ain't nobody going to be happy if the money ain't right. Nobody is going to be happy if the money ain't right. Sometimes we need to make sure that we're focused. Focus. Is the message accurate? Because listen, I don't care if you're single. I don't care if you're married. Do you want this person in office that is going to affect everybody? Because guess what? When somebody gets elected for president, when somebody gets elected for Congress, they're Congress and they're president for everyone. White, black, yellow, blue, purple, whether you're sassy, whether you like girls, whether you like boys, whether you're a girl that like girls or whether you're a boy that like boys. It doesn't matter at that point. Do we then galvanize the people to say this is the best person for the overwhelming majority of the people in the United States of America? That's the question that we ask ourselves. We can get back to the nonsense when the nonsense is back. When we have the luxury, we don't have the luxury to be focused on the silliness right now. We don't have the luxury. We are not blessed enough to be focused on the silliness right now. Relationships is 2025 talk. We gonna get back there. We'll sprinkle it in here and there or whatever when it's relevant. But right now, we got more pressing issues to focus on of whether or not somebody is too sassy. Don't y'all realize? We'll get there. Don't worry about it. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're gonna continue over with the show. I can take my time now. I'm not worried about corporate America no more. I had already said that I was gonna be leaving. AD, try to get Miss Montgomery on the platform. I bet. I got you. I'm on it. I'm working on it. Go Santana. Shout out to Go Santana. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. Serious Black Thought says, finally heard Pop say, I hope Trump wins. Oh, man. Talk about it. My girl, sister in the building. Shout out to sister. Good morning, AD. I can relate. When I told my family that I registered as a Republican at 18, they prayed and tarried all night. Oh, man. You know how they... Hey, sis. Y'all don't know what tarrying is? Have y'all ever heard a black person tarry? Calling Jesus repeatedly until you start speaking in tongues as the Spirit of God give utterance. I'm not even going to do it here. I'm not going to do it here. I'm tempted to do it, but I don't want to get caught up in the spirit. And next thing you know, we're going to be praising the Lord. We're going to have to put on some Fred Hammond. And in the words of Unc, shout until you die. Shout, shout, shout. Boy, y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all don't know nothing about prayer meetings. Y'all don't know nothing about prayer. You don't know nothing about a stay. Y'all ever heard of a stay? Don't worry about it. Sister, talk to him. They don't know nothing about this. Like, this is listen, I've lived a different life. High Tolerance says the divide is real this election. These hyenas will have simps on their air mattresses in the treehouse, not in the treehouse, if they vote for Donald Trump. Plus, black men saying because he's racist or won't apologize to the Central Park Five. Stop it. Stop it. You got to be kidding me. Make sure y'all head into the Patreon. I just seen my dog David. Shout out to David. Just joined the Patreon. I see you, big dog. Skinny Boy Django says, I'm going through it with my family members and friends on Facebook because I already tried Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now let me try Trump. And they going off. I tried, boss. Well, I was tagged. Keep going. Go Santana says, got into a fight with my family. Don't vote Kamala. Hold the line. Young black males are voting for Trump. Hold the line. Big B says shifts happen in every few generations based on new information or exposed fallacies. That's a fact. The black equals Democrat era is breaking and will take time. I think it's going to happen faster than you think. Struggle Lover in the building says, what's up, DD? Ms. Montgomery is a good speak, very relatable, edgy, and has a sense of humor. Agreed. I agree with you. Oh, man, hold on. Shout out to my rich friends. I want to give a shout out to my rich friends. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. But Ash seeing fit to make sure that he blessed your boy. Shout out to Ash. She's like, I left the liberal Democrat mindset when I left Chicago for good in the late 90s. Never voted for Obama, but I understood why 90% of black people did. Due to decades of LBJ programming, I started listening to talk radio and Alex Jones for over 20 years and was schooled in the globalist agenda. Ash, I appreciate you, big dog. I don't think it's anything that you've ever said that me and you ever disagree with. And it ain't just because you hit me off with the 200 ball. I got some rich friends in the Chasers. Are y'all not a part of the Bag Chasers? The Bag Chasers is a Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I got an exclusive video dropping for y'all today. Hey, Ash, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. You know I love you, big dog. High Tolerance says, 34-year-old ninja at work says he's pro-choice, then proceeds to tell me he's paid for 6 abortions and at least 12 morning. Gosh. Will Livingston, shout out to Will, says Biden owes an apology. Biden owes an apology for you're not black if you don't vote for him. Kamala, you aren't black, blackity black. Ain't y'all tired of being referred to as a color? Lumpy Grits is in the building and says LBJ turned generations of black families into overseers. Jim Crow never went anywhere and it simply evolved. Turning the colored water fountain into the black vote, LBJ was diabolical. LBJ was a genius. LBJ was a genius. That's a fact. How he finessed y'all. Adonis 1909, you got to have respect for your enemies. I would rather this sassy delivery in this moment and time over a twerk concert. Pick your poison and sit down. No, pick your medicine. This was medicine, baby. Big Rome got him. Shout out to Big Rome got him. I appreciate you. J-Rock 24K says, she cooking, AD. She been cooking. Wealth Building Journey says, time. The bottom is falling out of the stock market. That's why we got to have a stock club to take advantage of it. Listen, when everybody else is running, we see opportunity. Shout out to you. Keelan Murray says the ticket got dismissed. We good. God is good. Tuning back in. Shout out to my dog. Anthony Wright Network is in the building. Says, AD, Michaelah is on point. In my time, they were trying to take your black card. I don't give a F. It's always been about money and not race. It's a class war, not a race war. Agreed. Greyway in the building says, maybe she should have twerked. Then they would have loved it and would have been tuning into the OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying? Prince Elian is in the building and says, this is actually a smart move by the Trump campaign. Allow supporters to address emotional topics so Trump and Vance can focus on debating policies. They smart. It's wise. Shout out to the messenger for the spiritual army. Angels in the building. Says Michaelah Montgomery will be the House Speaker for the Republican Party. I will contact her to help the gang members receive the coalition of marijuana so they can remove the heroin and fentanyl off of the streets of America. Shout out to the messenger. I appreciate you. Thank you for holding me down. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shout out to Brittany B. They say that that's the highest praise. That's the highest praise. Hallelujah. David Simpson Jr. says, Judge Joe Brown went in on the is Trump racist topic. He laid out the Park 5 issue too. Lots of noise out there. I'm going to have to review that. Or maybe I'll just bring it up on Tuesday night. Make sure y'all come. Thank y'all to everybody that support the platform. And thank you to everybody that's going to be tuned into the Q show tonight. Come and kick it with me. I'm going to have my panel of friends. Q is putting together a great show. And it's going to be absolutely awesome. All right? Reading super chats throughout the show. Thank you to everybody that continues to hold us down. Is Trump's, or let me revise that. Is Kamala Harris's racial identity important? Let me say that again for the people in the back. Is Kamala Harris's racial identity important? Important. That's the question that we want to ask ourselves. Before we start getting into the brokenness and the layoffs and all of that stuff, is Kamala Harris's racial identity important? Byron Donald pulled up on ABC, and we know that ABC is a historically liberal, left-leaning, supporting Democrats publication. And he got into a bit of a tiff with the people over there on ABC. Check it out.
Bring in Republican Congressman and Trump ally Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning. Why is former President Trump questioning the vice president's racial identity?
Well, first, George, in Chicago, he was responding to a question from, I believe, Rachel Scott. Like, this is really a phony controversy. I don't really care. Most people don't. But if we're going to be accurate, when Kamala Harris went into the United States Senate, it was AP that said she was the first Indian American United States Senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also talks about far more frequently is the fact that Kamala Harris is the person who created this massive inflation, which is destroying black families, white families, Hispanic families. It's her failure as border czar that has left our southern border wide open, more than 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, record fentanyl coming into our country, which has killed more Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl. And the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is.
Byron Donalds is very, very articulate. Where they getting all of these black folks? Who's that on that nag? Who that on that nag? Where they getting all of these intelligent black people that know how to communicate effectively and address the issue while also adding additional context so that you can fully understand why you're not supposed to vote based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion and identity politics? Who that on that nag? Byron Donalds, Michaelah Montgomery, Anton Daniels, Jesus. Don't let us start to really make some inroads because they're going to be mad at us. Byron Donalds can communicate and really spit. I have become a fan of Byron Donalds during this election season. I was not as familiar with him as I should have been, but I'm starting to really pay attention to Byron Donalds because that man can cook. Let me continue with the video.
Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity?
What slur is he talking about? What slur is he referring to? I don't really understand. What slur? He said you repeated the slur again. What slur is he referring to?
She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Let me see something really quickly. I've never actually seen a picture. Come on. I need to do some research on this father guy. Because everybody keeps telling me about this father and who he is, and he's Jamaican. Because as far as I'm concerned, Jamaicans absolutely separate themselves from American black people. That's been my experience, 100%. I need to do some deep diving on his guy and Google him and ultimately find some credible sources so I can speak to exactly who this guy is. But let me go ahead and keep it playing.
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
What did he do? Am I missing something? Let me rewind it again.
She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Am I honestly, I'm trying to understand, does he have somebody in his ear saying, yeah, get him, or something like that? What did he do again? He didn't say nothing. He said that he didn't care. And more importantly, this is something that the Harris administration is trying to lean on in order to galvanize the vote from the culture. He didn't even mention race. What is he talking about? Because I'm a C student and I want to make sure that we get in the full context. So I just want to watch this and really make sure that we all in the same space.
She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
I'm so lost. I'm so lost. I don't get it. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know what he did. He just did what again? What did he do? Let me finish playing this because honestly I didn't watch the full clip. And so I'm trying to understand exactly what he did.
United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
Byron Donalds is cooking. He said, listen, the only reason that we having this conversation about race, isn't it funny how we still very recent in our mind remember that 2019 conversation where Biden said out of his mouth And Kamala Harris harped on it during her 2019 debate with Biden, in which she absolutely got washed. And Biden said, quote, "If you don't vote for me, you not black." But yet we have this man on ABC trying to press Byron Donalds about the fact that black people are leveraging race, and Kamala Harris is leveraging race in order to get people to vote. You know, I planned on breaking this down on the Anton Daniels channel. Tomorrow morning, and I wanted to have a conversation about race and why they are trying to galvanize. Have y'all noticed, and I've been saying this, that they do not, Republicans and people that are conservative, do not ever have a rock the vote. Hurry up and register to the polls. Not an informed conversation, but they never, under any circumstance, ever say, hey, y'all, we got to get more registered people to vote. You know why? Do you know why? I'm going to break it down in depth tomorrow. When I wake up in the morning and I head into the studio, I'm going to break it all the way down for the people in the back. Do you know why conservatives never have a rock the vote? Galvanize. Get your vote out. You know why that never happens? Because they're not depending on uninformed voters to get them into office. They don't play on your ignorance. The goal of a conservative Republican Party is to educate you based off of the policies that they stand on. Donald Trump is saying, look at what happened in 2016 and the things that I did and whether or not everybody was prospering. Democrats, every election cycle, is saying we got to get old people, we got to get black people, we got to get people in the urban community. We'll bust you to the polls. They didn't say that we're going to inform you. They didn't say that we're going to educate you. They say we will bust you to the polls. You know why? Because they automatically assume because you're black and you live in an urban community that if they get you to the poll, because black urban communities are historically low when it comes to the voter turnout rate, if they can get you to the poll, then they can swing the election in their favor. They're depending on your ignorance in order to get in office. It has nothing to do on the policies that they stand on, how they going to make your lives better. They're depending on your ignorance, and the only thing that they got to do, whether they get Meg Thee Stallion and dance in front of you, whether they throw you a little bit of stimulus, whether they give you a PPP loan, or they say, well, hey, wait a minute. Remember your mother and your father, you voted for me. That's why they do it. It is very easy to go to 106 and Park, or to get a latest rapper to endorse you, or to go get Plies, or Slim Thug, or Meg Thee Stallion, or Roland Martin, or any of these shills. Anybody that shills and pander and butter you up and make you feel good and give them games and talk about the things that they think is going to be important to them and whether or not they're going to get a rapper out of jail and all of this other type of stuff. It's easy for them to shuck and dance in front of you and do all of this nonsense because it would be much more difficult to keep your attention when it comes to informing you on why you should participate in the voter process, not just for the national election, but for your local leaders. And so the only thing they say is, let's get more registered people to the polls. Are y'all going to the polls? Yes. Are you going to the polls? Yes. Are you going to the polls? Yes. And they do that dumb stuff because they know that you being uninformed and also being smitten by some chick over here or your mama because you a son husband and depending on race, identity politics, and whether or not you're going to be ostracized or criticized by the black community is ultimately going to lead you to the polls to do the thing that's not even in your best interest. And let me educate black people on another issue that y'all don't want to talk about. It's not up to a Republican or a Democrat to save you. That is the biggest myth. When I see these idiots out here saying, well, ain't neither party gonna save us, they're not supposed to save you. They're supposed to unleash you and give you opportunity. The goal of a politician is not to save you or give you things. The goal of a politician is to manage things more effectively so that you have more opportunities to achieve the American dream for yourself. When you then look at these Democratic policies and you have these conversations, what you'll realize is what Democrats do is like to tie you to the federal government and put red tape in your way. They put together all of this red tape. You can't get your business started. You got all of these requirements. You then are dependent on the federal government. They incentivize you to break up your homes. They're not putting things in place to help you succeed. They're putting things in place to help them continue to get your vote. Because they then say, well, if you don't depend on me, then you're going to fail. Because you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You weak. You ain't never walked on your own. You've been dependent on the federal government your whole life. You've been on Section 8 since you came out of your mother's womb. Don't you want to be on Section 8 too? And don't you want to be on Section 8 too? And don't you want an EBT card? And don't you want to break up your family? Hey, don't marry before you carry, even though we know statistically and data says that you have a much greater chance of not going to prison, never joining a gang, never needing therapy, never ever having to depend on social media in order for you to need a group to come together. But you can be a free thinker. They don't enable you to do for yourself. They tether you to the federal government in order to try to incentivize you and say, well, didn't you like the way that we gave you all of these food stamps for all of your life? We didn't give you enough for you to be able to leapfrog, and we didn't force you out, right? All we did was make sure that we created a generation of trauma so that you can then hold on tight. Because when you have trauma, you tend to flinch and hold on. But when you free, you jump off the cliff and you see if you can fly. And that's the difference. When people describe the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, I want you to show them this clip. I want you to show them this clip. The difference isn't if one is for the rich and if one is for the poor. The difference is one trying to tie you to the federal government for a vote versus one giving you the opportunity to do for yourself. Ain't nobody supposed to save you. All we want is American dollars to come back to our country, for our tax dollars to be used according to what our agenda is, for us to have the right infrastructure to go to work, but it's your job to get in the car and get to the job on time. They're not supposed to save your job. They're supposed to give you the opportunity to be able to work for yourself and then make informed decisions so that you can then level up and become great and then ultimately achieve what the American dream is. That is the difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. They're not supposed to do anything for you. They're supposed to unleash you instead of tying you to the federal government for generation after generation after generation. That is the difference. You got to go to work. You got to level up. You got to do the work yourself. You got to go to college. You got to make informed decisions. You got to minimize your debt. You got to make sure that you take care of your family. You got to make sure that you don't commit crimes. You got to make sure that you don't go to jail. You got to make sure that you vote. You got to make sure that you participate in an electoral process and educate yourself, and then enable your children to be able to do for themselves also. And then make sure that you pay your car note. Make sure you pay your house note. Make sure you don't get too much credit card debt. That is your responsibility. Ain't nobody supposed to hold your hand. No, nobody's supposed to forgive your student loans. You took them out. That's the difference. It's not about a rich versus poor. It's about opportunity versus socialism. I don't want nobody to give me nothing. I'm cool with earning it on my own merit. I just don't want you in my way. I don't want my tax dollars going to Ukraine and y'all keep raising the taxes and saying that I got to pay 40 and 50% for somebody that ain't never even worked in their life. I don't want my tax dollars going to migrants. I don't want my tax dollars going over there where they can go and get debit cards and have an ungodly amount of EBT money, hotel stays, free healthcare coverage, and all of this stuff. I don't want to continue to participate in this Ponzi scheme called Social Security that they rob from the people that's pouring into it now in order to fund it for the people that ain't even paid into it. I want communities to be safe so that my daughter can walk to school without having to worry about getting her head cracked over because these Democrats keep saying defund the police. It's very basic. It's a very basic, very, very, very basic concept. And the minute that you then get educated, you start to get off of the Democratic plantation because they're dependent on your ignorance in order for you to still stay there. They only want to remain in power. So they give you things. They don't teach you how to fish. They give you a fish. It's a very basic thing. Democrats give you a fish, but they don't give you enough to where it satisfies your hunger. Republicans are trying to teach you how to fish so that you can then pour into the economy and be able to build it up with everybody else. It's very basic. Teach you to fish, give you a fish. You're going to be hungry. You're going to satisfy your hunger today, but they gave you a whole bunch of sugar and preservatives. I'm going to teach you how to grow your own garden and get your own vegetables and then be able to get your own money and then be able to fish for yourself. That's the difference between the two parties. But if they give you a fish, you then become dependent on it because you just like a little puppy, you just like a little cat. You're going to come back the next day, come back the next day, come back the next day, come back the next day. That's the difference between the two parties. It's not a rich versus a poor. It's opportunity versus being tethered to the party itself. Tell your grandma I said it. Tell Gam Gam, Anton from AntonDaniels.com said that she was wrong her whole life. Your whole life, her whole life, Grandma and Gam Gam was wrong. Grandfather was a simp. He was wrong. Gam Gam was wrong. Your mama was wrong. Your daddy was wrong. Your sister wrong. Your church wrong. Your black community is wrong. Your community leaders is wrong. All of the people that you're dependent on for insight and information, I'm going to undo it in 15 minutes right here, right now. 15 minutes. They taught you a lifetime of trauma. That's a generational curse. The generational curse don't got nothing to do with the money. The generational curse comes with the mindset. It's the mindset. The minute that you unleash this, you become dangerous. They don't want you to think for yourself. Why would they want you to think for yourself when they already got a slave? That's why we call it the Democratic plantation. Because if I can tell you what you're supposed to think instead of teaching you how to think for yourself, because you're much more powerful when you then have the information, that's what unleashes the beast. That's what unlocks you. Tell your mama you wrong. Anton said this is what it means. And if she don't like it, tell her to come holler at me. We have a smoke show every once in a while. I'll correct her for you. You may not be as articulate and as forthcoming and as fervent in your messaging. I might have to have a conversation with her. That's the difference between the parties. Step off of the party. Step off of it. Why do you think that they wanted to keep you as a slave physically? The Democratic Party is the party that really wanted to keep you locked up. Now they just got you locked up in here. They did a mind job on you. Wake up. Wake up. I'm sorry. I got a little caught up in myself. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. Sometimes I get a little caught up in my messaging because I really, really want the people to wake up. I really want the people to wake up. I really want them to wake up. I don't want y'all to keep thinking the same way all the time and then have the same results. Don't you know that your mama was poor and your grandmama was poor and your granddaddy was poor and y'all ain't got no properties, you ain't got no houses. All you got is debt, student loans, credit card debts, and a little hood rat on your side keep telling you, I need some Enfamil for my kid. Ain't you tired of going to get the Enfamil? All right, we got to wait for our EBT card and our government benefits to hit at the beginning of the month. Then I'm going to go and get you some Enfamil. Meanwhile, the baby crying. That baby is going to be a Democratic baby. And don't worry about it. I'm going to make sure that I fight for police reform so we can get him on a no bail system so he can get out here and hit somebody else over the head again. Jesus Christ. Ancient man says there are Chinese Jamaicans like they act like all Jamaicans are. Elon Musk is South African, born and raised. Prince Eliane says her dad is Irish and Asian Indian, born in Jamaica. 81 million votes says Stephanopoulos is trying to foment false, trying to create false outrage, fake outrage. I agree. Turtle Island says, imagine Candace Owens as Trump speaker. She would torch. David Simpson Jr. says, Judge Joe Brown talked about Kamala's dad too. The man is Indian Irish. He immigrated to Jamaica. Kamala is an Indian woman who was raised in Canada. Doesn't matter. Yes, her and her people made it so. Pop, shout out to Popo Naya. Shelley says, imagine telling a J they aren't allowed to determine what is and isn't a J. Would never happen. George needs to be fired immediately. No, I don't think that he needs to be fired. I don't want people to lose their job. Jaden the Barber, shout out to Jaden the Barber for holding me down. J-Rock24K is in the building, says, the worst trade ever. They got Kobe and we got Vlade Divac. I hate to see what they will give for everyone else that is stuck overseas. Shout out to you. Uncle Drew, old man on the block. Shout out to Uncle Drew in the building. Says he is trying to lock him down on a black issue, which is spoken online. In Cali, she was known as the first Indian American Hope this helps. Shout out to Uncle Stu. I appreciate you. Adonis 1909 in the building says, I was born in Jamaica. The Indians of her father's heritage were slave owners and extremely prejudiced to the locals. She is not black. Don't get caught up on a black issue, y'all. Messenger for the spiritual army angels is in the building. Says Hillary Clinton pocketbook needs to be checked for hot sauce when she's at a restaurant. The propaganda and blackface humiliation for votes must stop. I agree with you. They've been doing it forever and it's been working, obviously. Obama's inside straight puppet. She can't win a deep primary, so they made her VP. She plays them until they oust Biden. Looks for more attempts on both. Shout out to you. I appreciate you, Ken Art. Let me give you that one. Big Sug says, thank you, Anton, for keeping us bag chasers informed and striving for greatness. Of course, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Messenger says, the only job the United States government gave the gang members is to sell their drugs. That's why the gang members have to sue for the coalition of marijuana and have the migrants mine their marijuana in their own country. Shout out to you. Let me give you a round of applause. You've been cooking up today as far as all of the super chats. Ken Art is in the building, says, give me free drug pipes. Tia Marie is in the building, says, it's not about race. It's about lying about it, playing in our faces and insulting our intelligence. Agreed. It's almost like she has denounced being Indian. She inherently Indian and conveniently black, because it's easy to play into people's faces. American Man says, the question then becomes, do blacks want to do for self? Clip this up tonight. Clip it up. Clip it up. I got y'all. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. We got it. We got a whole show. I'm sorry. I could take my time. You know why? Because I ain't got no holds on me. I could take my time. We gonna do the whole show, not half the show. Let's spend 10 minutes explaining why Chevron is leaving California for Texas and they're departing California. California, are y'all really paying attention to what's happening? Do y'all realize y'all have become the poster child of dysfunction and liberal policies executed by Gavin Newsom, carried out by former district attorney Kamala Harris over there in San Francisco? Ooh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into the money, y'all. Let's deep dive into the money.
Oil and gas giant Chevron leaving the Golden State amidst a sometimes contentious relationship with California.
The company is moving its headquarters to Texas following the footsteps of Elon Musk. KCAL News reporter Gio Insignaris here now with that decision and what led up to it and the impact it may have.
That's right. Juan, Susie, good evening.
Oh, my likes is so low. The likes on this is so low. It's unreal. It's unreal. The amount of effort and education. Your mama couldn't even explain to you the difference between the Democrat and Republican Party. And I just broke it down to you in 15, 20 minutes, and my likes is atrocious. I just broke it down. I know that the 10 dislikes is from people that didn't want me to educate you, and they want to keep you in the dark. But I literally just broke it down for you from a C student's perspective so that you can truly understand it. So that when you talk to your friends on the corner and they selling that fentanyl, that heroin laced with fentanyl, you can educate them when they start talking ignorantly about the difference between being a Democrat and a Republican. And my likes is egregiously low. Egregiously. You just got a masterclass on Politics 101 that your political science teacher couldn't teach you in 4 years in college. And now you can communicate effectively because you got a diversity, equity, and inclusion degree. And they gave you an underwater basket weaving degree or African American studies. And my likes is egregiously low. Get my likes up so that we can do this show. Come on, y'all.
To you guys, it's a big deal, major milestone for this company and for this state. Chevron's been centered in California for more than a century. Its corporate offices have been in the Bay Area in San Ramon since 2002. And this announcement is a sign of the shifting times and energy priorities, particularly for California. Experts say the move is not a surprise, but another step toward what each side believes it's in its own best interests. One of California's and America's oldest companies is leaving the Golden State for more oil-rich pastures. Chevron announcing today it's moving headquarters from California to Houston, Texas.
Thank y'all.
It's a decision that comes after years of disagreements, and one that consumer watchdog President Jamie Court says makes perfect sense for the company.
They know their days are numbered in California, and while they'll always be making some gasoline,
They'll be taking less and less oil out.
We should have over 4,000. We got over 3,800 people in here. We should have over 4,100 people in here. That means that y'all have not been sharing this the way that y'all supposed to, and you need to be sending this out to 3 to 5 people at least. 3 to 5 people that you know, tell them that this is the best morning show. It should be on the offices, the churches. It should be on in your truck drivers. If you're not following this guy, even if you hate him, absolutely tap into the entertainment aspect of it and get the medicine inside of the candy. Y'all have not shared this with your family and friends. We're not going to depend on the YouTube algorithm in order to send this out to the people. We're going to do this organically. We're going to grow by educating and not limiting. And also to my people in the chat, I want y'all to make sure, and I know that y'all have been very, very generous, very, very generous with letting people that have a difference of opinion operate inside of the chat. Moderators, let's keep up the good energy. Make sure that we don't censor anybody that disagrees with us. We're not censoring anybody that disagrees with us. We don't care what you think. We don't care what you say. We encourage you actually to have your thoughts, and we don't want to live in an echo chamber. So shout out to all of my moderators. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Everybody, it's a few of y'all. It's too many of y'all to name. I can't go over it right now. But thank you to the moderators for allowing the people to have a difference of opinion. As long as they're not egregiously disrespectful, we are always open to being educated or to have other people chime in, even if you disagree with us. We do not censor people over here on the Millionaire Morning Show. Let's get into California, y'all.
The ground, and they do not see this as a growth area.
California has been aggressive on pushing toward clean energy. In one example, just last year, the LA County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to ban new oil and gas extraction and phase out existing operations.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that? What? I don't understand California, their legislators, and it's not just Gavin Newsom, but Gavin Newsom is a face, so you always got to take that L. I don't understand why California is so dead set on being anti-business. Elon Musk warned y'all. Elon Musk warned. For some reason, y'all think that the weather is enough to keep people there. Don't you know that it's 50 other states or 49 other states that these companies can move to? And that out of spite, not just out of spite, but also because it's just a better business climate to move to other places, including Texas, they're following Elon Musk's lead and they're saying, listen, we don't even have to deal with this nonsense. Don't you know that there's layoffs? In this point in society, at this point, with it being so bad out here, companies are looking for reasons to leave. They're looking for other suitors that are saying, hey, we'll have you over here. We'll have you over here. I don't understand. California is like an older woman that keep on nagging and not making a peaceful home for her great husband that goes out and makes sure that he kills himself every day in order to provide for the kids and the family. Like, man, we've been together for like 30 years. You gonna keep nagging me? Go out there. I dare you to go out there. Ain't nothing else for it. And then he say, okay. All right. Well, listen, we've been together for 30 years and, you know, you 50, I'm going to trade you in for 225s then. I'm going to trade you in for, you 50 and we've been together for 30 years and I would like to keep you, but I can't trade you in for 225s. California is like a nagging chick. Shout out to Albino. I'm definitely going to be reading that super chat shortly. It's a nagging chick. Why you keep running everybody out? You don't want nobody to come over and make sure that they take care of your little stepkids that you keep letting in over the border? You want everybody to be a step crash dummy, a stepfather to these people that just keep coming over here illegally, but you keep making it difficult for me to be able to exist in this home. All right, well then skip it. I'm leaving. Them ain't my kids anyway. Skip it. I'm leaving. Them ain't my kids anyway.
Chevron CEO telling the Wall Street Journal policies like these raise prices and hurt consumers. One energy expert says a more business-friendly environment is among the factors that attracts companies like Chevron.
Every oil company that's consolidated back to Texas or into Texas for the first time.
Thank you to everybody. I'm going to read the super chat shortly.
Employees here tend to work harder and longer. Maybe not the best thing for those in California to hear, But the companies tend to benefit from that.
Additionally, last fall, Chevron and several other big oil companies were sued by the state of California, alleging a pattern of lying to the public about potential global warming risks linked to fossil fuels. Chevron officials have argued against the lawsuit and pushed back against California's climate initiatives.
California is suing Chevron for having a wrong conversation with the general public about global warming? What? Jesus Christ.
Like California versus big oil, and we're saying they're not welcome. On the other hand, we're welcoming all sorts of clean energy companies.
Chevron is now the latest company departure from the state, as others, like Elon Musk, recently said his companies, SpaceX and X, were also relocating to Texas from California.
Hey, remember when everybody said that they was leaving X, but X is booming? They said, we're going to leave and we're going to join Threads. I'm about to delete my Threads account. I ain't even going to lie. I just got it just because it just was a part of Facebook said, we making you have a Threads account because you already got an Instagram account. Ain't nobody checking for Threads. Ain't nobody checking for Threads. Hey, remember when Elon Musk bought X and everybody said, oh man, Twitter is thriving. X, formerly known as Twitter, is thriving better than it's ever been before. They got users up. They are a profitable company. They are thriving more than they ever did before.
Today's announcement essentially ends a 145-year relationship, one that once featured Los Angeles as one of the world's largest oil exporting regions back in the 1920s, but is now shifted into a place where the two can't coexist the way they used to, given the evolution in each side's priorities.
Chevron's been a California company for a long time, but it's always been a petroleum company, and it's always going to be a petroleum company. I think it's a natural synergy. I think it was a business decision, not a political decision.
2,000 California employees will join the 7,000 already in Houston over a 5-year transition period. Some operations will remain in San Ramon, but the company said it expects all corporate functions to move to Houston over these next few years.
Last person in California turned the lights out. Last person in California turned the lights out. It's a wasteland. Ain't gonna be no opportunities, ain't no jobs over there. Oh, I forgot, y'all can go and get y'all a McDonald's job for $25 an hour. But then McDonald's is saying, we can't survive, we gotta keep raising the prices. So now you create this doom loop. So all of the major companies is leaving California. All of the major companies are leaving California. The only real problem is this, y'all, is that Texans don't want Californians to turn they Texas blue. That's the only real problem. Texans don't want Californians in Texas because Texas is saying that Californians is going to turn Texans blue. That's the only real problem. That's what the biggest complaint is. They don't want your liberal policies. They don't want your sassiness. They don't want your ashiness. They don't want your classlessness over there in Texas. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. They said, listen, keep your money. You're already raising the price of the brick over here. Property taxes is high. Home prices are skyrocketing. And we don't want y'all to turn our calendar. Now, we will take it into consideration if you decide that you want to leave. But you already burned up your own state. Why don't y'all stay where y'all are? Y'all voted them people over there, and they the ones that create bad business relationships. They don't know how to nurture relationships. How do you lose a company that is over a century old and doing business in their headquarters in your state? How do you do that? How do you lose a century plus old company in your state? You gotta be one of the most incompetent leaders that I've ever seen in my entire life to sit here and force Chevron, X, SpaceX, all of these companies out. And you operating at a deficit. California is operating at a deficit and they're still losing jobs. So instead of being more hospitable to different companies that then want to come in and do business with you, you decide, no, I'm going to triple down and I'm going to make it even harder and more difficult for you to continue to do business over here in my city. Okay, I got you. Makes sense. I mean, makes perfect sense to me. I mean, that is sound logic and sound doctrine. Let me read some of these super chats and then we're going to continue on with the show. I got a couple more segments that I want to share with you guys. Levi DePero says, Anton, imagine you wake up and you have A great rich man teaching you how to be successful. Some will wake up and destroy the game. Others will ask, where's my fish? I'm ready to learn. Shout out to Levi Apparel. I appreciate you, big dog. And everybody that continues to support the platform. Thank you to J-Lo on the Track Video Production says, get the likes up. Get the likes up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, man, I got rich friends in the building. I got rich friends in the building, y'all. Albino says, good morning, Angry Man fan. Shout out to my dog, AM. Don't y'all realize that me and AM is like, that's my light-skinned twin. That's my brethren over there. When I met AM, people was trying to pit me against him and say, oh, man, you and AM, y'all got to have a beef. Y'all got to have a beef. And then I went over there. I showed him some love. And then I said, hey, man, pull up to Detroit, man. Let's cook up. We hung up. We went to the game together. That's my homie, dog. Shout out to you, your family. I love you, AM. You killing it out here in these games. Brothers actually celebrate brothers. Says, recorded a convo with illegals and single moms abusing Medicaid with a friend. Sent them a copy. Do you want it too? The rates of the abuse is stunning. Email me at AntonDaniels413@gmail.com. Thank you, my friend. Email it to me, AntonDaniels413@gmail.com. And shout out to AM. I love AM. That's my dog. Shan says, what a lovely day to get this paper. Get your bread up. Get your bread up. Peace and Pan-Africanism. Peace and Pan-Africanism. Ain't that what Umar Johnson say? Rio's Family Gardeners in the building says, spread the knowledge, AD. We appreciate you, brother. Blessings. Blessings on blessings on blessings. Shout out to Big Sean. I know you're about to release an album soon. William Grant says, how has rap hip-hop affected the black community? Horribly. One of the worst things that ever happened to the black community, unfortunately. Even myself, I have problems disassociating myself with the hip-hop community. Yo, check it. Yo. Truth is, I do what the hustlers do. It's 24/7 on the block like new kids. Get it? New kids on the block take the rhymes that you got, spit them back at you 10 times the value. Hope dudes toting they witty, but you pitch rhymes from other dudes tossing you. Don't even say that. For other dudes tossing your pennies. Woo! Time Dog. Man, I pulled that verse up out of my anus, didn't I? That's an old freestyle that I did back in like 1998. That's a 98 freestyle right there. Elias is in the building, says, preach, Pastor Anton. Most black Democrats don't know that the hero of the civil rights movement, Lyndon Johnson, was a bona fide racist who called the Civil Rights Act the Ninja Bill. David with a Y says, yep, you can see it happening in Austin. Yeah, Austin is California light. It's California Junior. Kamisha, are you with me? Are you riding? Shout out to Kamisha. I love you, Kamisha. Thank you, baby, for supporting the platform. My girl sister's in the building. Says, Mr. AD, maybe that's the play to drive businesses out of California so Californians move to Texas and turn it blue. I don't know what the goal is, but I know it's crazy. J-Rock24 says, seriously, they smuggling guns and hacking satellites as we speak. The Vladi Divac home making a ham sandwich out here in the building. Jerry Early says, thank you, Anton. We also lost Toyota. Y'all lost Toyota over there in California too? Oh, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so out here in these streets. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Kevin O'Leary even said, and I want to spend 10 minutes breaking down Kevin O'Leary, and then we're going to go over to our reaction for the day. Kevin O'Leary says California is hot trash. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
And SpaceX to Texas as well. Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, says California is a, quote, dumpster fire for businesses. He joins me now. Kevin, it's great to have you on the show. Here's how big a deal this is in California. Chevron leaving, the Los Angeles Times says, is a big hit to the state of California. And when the Progressive Times is saying that, you know it's a big hit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Gavin Newsom, and I've said this multiple times, great guy, I've met him, I like him, has no executional skills, has no idea what's going on here. He's turned his state into a version of Venezuela.
What's up, Kerry?
And everybody's leaving it because the policy's broken. You know, you don't have to get into partisan politics on this. California, as far as business is concerned and job creation and economic prosperity, is a dumpster fire. It's on fire. these companies are leaving after hundreds of years there because they can't do business. They can't make money. They can't employ anybody. And in every sector, I'm wearing a chef suit today because I invest a lot in food services. We don't touch California in food services. You can't make money there. The policy on minimum wage is insane. At some point, the people of California should probably hire new managers. When I have a failing business, I fire the manager and I hire somebody better.
It's too much like right. Okay, for the people in the back that's a little slow like myself, because I'm a C student and I like to break it down from a C student's perspective, what he's basically telling y'all is Gavin Newsom, as the leader of California, and all of your legislators are basically, and they have been for a long time, destroying California. But you know why they don't worry about it? Because they automatically know that California is going to vote blue. And so whoever it is that wins the primary, right, or whoever it is that comes out on top from the blue side, it's automatically going to win. Only for one time that I remember in my lifetime, I think they had the governor. They had the governor that had Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, and they got mad at him for driving a Hummer. They was more concerned about whether or not he was driving a Hummer versus absolutely making sure that California policy benefits the residents and the business owners that employ the residents that live in California. And so Kevin O'Leary is saying, listen, man, I don't know why y'all not getting rid of the person that's making it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And when you go outside and you walk down the street and you can't take your family nowhere and there's poop everywhere, I don't know why y'all keep letting this person run all of y'all out of the state. I was talking to a guy, and I think I might have told y'all this before. I was coaching a guy, and we were talking about real estate, and I was telling him what my different strategies are and how it is that I leverage real estate in order to protect my assets and make sure that I continue to grow my net worth, right? And so we was going over a different strategy, and it was him and his wife, and they were in California, and they said, Anton, I got to get out of here. I gotta sell these properties. I said, what do you mean you gotta sell your properties? And this was when I realized that the laws were never in favor of the people. It was always in favor of the criminals. He said, Anton, he said, I got 5 rental properties, but he had mortgages on his. And he said, listen, man, nobody pays rent. And it's hard to get people out. And I don't know what to do because I got to carry the mortgages out of my own pocket. And the rent moratorium and this and that and this and that. And I don't know what to do. He said, man, I will never, ever, ever in my life. He said, you know how hard it is to get people out that don't pay rent? That people literally prey on you to get into your property and not pay rent in California? I said, no way. He said, man, I got to get out of here. He said, I got to get out of here. He said, the taxes is killing me. The people is killing me. The legislators are killing me, and I don't know what to do. He said, I don't know what to do. I would never in my life buy a property, let alone a rental income property in California.
You can hire better managers. Dumpster fire. It's on fire.
Yeah, and part of that is, and I know you have this, we were going to ask you, by the way, why in the world are you wearing a chef's outfit? We'll get to that in a minute, but you bring up the very good point is that California raising the minimum wage to $20, and you have a lot of fast food restaurants that are leaving the state, that are getting rid of jobs, that are cutting hours. And then you look at Tesla, and you look at SpaceX, and you look at X, and you look at Elon Musk, and you think, man, this is something that is not just a one-off. This is a pattern in California, and it is a steady pattern. And as you say, if you're managing the state, somebody's got to raise their hand and say, we're doing something wrong.
I'm a multi-sectoral investor. You just detailed multiple sectors. You have technology, you have energy, you have food and consumer goods. They're all leaving because the policy's broken. I don't make money on politics. I don't care. I'm agnostic. I don't care who runs California, red or blue or independent. I couldn't care less. Policy matters. And Gavin Newsom's policy is broken.
So you do care about who runs California. See, this is Kevin O'Leary's way of trying to stay neutral, but I guarantee you that Kevin is voting red. I guarantee you that Kevin O'Leary is voting red. He's saying he doesn't care about who runs it, but policy. But guess what? Policy is closely tied to whatever side of the fence you on in politics. if you blue or if you red, when you tend to side with criminals versus actually siding with residents and business owners, you're literally picking your policy. When you go with Gavin Newsom, what did you think that he was going to do? He was going to do more of what he already did before he got elected the first time. He going to do what he did in San Francisco as the mayor of San Francisco. What y'all thought that he was going to change?
In effect, you raise minimum wages, you wipe out hundreds of thousands of jobs, and you lose giant industries. Energy is the essence of an economy. You can't do anything without energy. And they just kicked him out of California. Look, Gavin, I love you, but maybe you got to find a job doing something else you're good at, because it's not this.
But you have said many times, Kevin, listen, not just California. I mean, you're from Massachusetts and a lot of your friends, and you're down in Florida, and you're like, listen, this is not just a California problem. This is something that a lot of states have problems, over-regulation, over-taxation, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, look, I think we should reward the states that have pro-business policy. You're right. Massachusetts, I left. My family lives in Florida. All my neighbors.
Boston is it's a rough place. It's a very, very, they got good public transportation. I like visiting Boston. I like their downtown. I like that they got the grade of the establishment as far as the restaurant on the front of the thing when you walk past the restaurant to see exactly what type of establishment you're getting. But Boston is a tough city. It's very, very expensive. It's very, 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 very expensive. And I know he's not saying Boston in particular, but Massachusetts, it's the bank robberies hub of America.
Neighbors live around me. I don't want to punish success. When you talk about a super tax for wealthy people that have basically taken all the risk to create jobs, you chase them out of the state. We need the competition of states. An hour ago, I just inked a deal in West Virginia for 180 acres to build a data center. Not inked, I just optioned the land. I would never do that in upstate New York, never, even though their power's cheaper there. You can't get anything done in New York. I'm getting it done in West Virginia, Oklahoma, North Dakota. Let's reward these states. Let's bring our money there, celebrate them, talk about them like I am right now, and punish the weaker ones that don't give good policy. This is America. We build businesses. If you can't compete, you get whacked.
And the only reason people still living in California is because of the location and the weather. That's it. That's it. It's no other reason to be in California or to be in LA or to be in Sacramento or to be in the Bay or to be in Oakland. None of that. It's no reason to be over in San Francisco. It's no reason to be over there. San Diego got the best weather in the state, in my opinion. But it's no reason to be over there. It's no reason to be in Glendale. It's no reason to be in any of these places, bro.
I'm good with that.
Have y'all been to Hollywood? Hollywood is not a tourist destination. Hollywood is a P trap. And I'm not talking about P-U-S. I'm talking about P-E-E trap. Hollywood is horrible. Have y'all seen those walks, those stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Man, it's like Zombieland out there.
That's the essence of what drives the economy. So New York, no. New Jersey, no. Massachusetts, no. California, no. North Dakota, yes. West Virginia, yes. I'm telling you, Oklahoma, yes. Good policy gets my money. I'm not the only guy saying this. I want to bring money and jobs to states that get the joke.
Yes, Chef. Yes, I got to go, Kevin. But are you going to cook something, or is this just a statement? I've got
Shout out to Kevin O'Leary for calling it what it is. It is a hellhole. It's a dumpster fire. And everybody is walking away from California that can get out. They are getting out unless you're going van life. Then you're going over to California because you like the weather. All right, let me read some of the super chats, and then I'm going to go into the last segment of the show. It says, we full in Texas. Might I suggest Mississippi? I love Mississippi. Mississippi is one of the places that I absolutely love, specifically Biloxi. I like Biloxi. Biloxi got a vibe. It's I don't know why. Something about it. I went to Mississippi on a whim. I flew out there from MGM, and I just fell in love with Mississippi. Divine Roberson says, Jamaican is not nationality, not a race. Please understand the difference, people. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. Also, Javarius Logan is in the building and said it was an amazing time in Houston. Shout out to the Bag Chasers and the Patreon members. Looking forward to the next. Shout out to Anton plus his wife, Yakar, Ari, Zeno, Jay Ben and his wife, Slimmy, and Mika. My primary page is J-Lo on a track beat. Oh, okay. Shout out to you. I appreciate you, big dog. And shout out to everybody that came and pulled up to me in Houston. Heather M says neutrality is not an option. Shout out to Heather M. I agree with you. You're going to have to pick a side. Pick a side. Diplomat 314 says, shout out from St. Louis. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. Shout out to my STL people out there in the building. Kamisha says, first, I want to thank you to the Millionaire Morning Show for all of the gems that you've given us daily. Also, now we know what is really going on and where do we go from here as black people. Go left. From the right. No, go over to the right. Go right, man. Listen, the first thing we got to do is we got to take ownership and responsibility. We need to educate ourselves. And I think that we switch away from the Democratic Party. I think we got to get away from the Democratic Party. Honestly, Kamisha, it's more to that, but I think that we got to get away from the Democratic Party. Look at Quinn. He knew that Oklahoma City was going to get named, didn't you? Messenger says they are stealing housing, preservation, development money that do not care about corporate businesses or any business. They have the equivalent of slaves in the cotton field with housing. Shout out the Messenger for the Spiritual Army Angels in the building. I love you. Hey, y'all can catch Quentin tonight on the Q Show on the Anton Daniels channel. Make sure y'all tap in at 10 p.m. Eastern. Quentin, I'm expecting for him to be cooking. He gonna be cooking tonight, y'all. JG says, AD, stay blessed. You Americans better learn from Canadians. It's too late for us here. 43% of income is taken by taxes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. 900K average home prices in city. You better vote Smart USA or it'll be you. Oh my God. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Y'all saying move to Mexico City? Major League says, I need your help. I want to build bunkers in tornado alleys, especially if businesses is looking to invest away from blue states. I don't know why you need my help. You need to call Quentin, baby. Call Quentin, big dog. No, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com if you got a business idea. So we can figure it out and have a conversation about it. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, man, I'm going over my 2-hour mark. I'm going to have to pare this back. I have to figure out how to pare this back. You know what I'm saying? Last but not least, the market is very, very bad. Markets is getting hammered. Now, you guys already know that I look at that as a buying opportunity. I look at that as a buying opportunity, but I'm not just talking about the stock market. I'm also talking about the job market. The job market is bad. It is horrible. I was listening to somebody on YouTube, and he was saying that unofficially, Stellantis is basically the company that ultimately bought Dodge and Chrysler. And it was saying that they was running it into the ground, that the price is too high. They're not really investing in American workers. And more importantly, there's a rumor that is going around, and I can't substantiate it officially yet, but there's a rumor that's going around, and they basically getting rid of all American workers that are in corporate. So remember when I told y'all when they filed in and they ultimately voted in the UAW contract and they ratified it? Well, Stellantis is running a minimum amount of shifts. They pricing their stuff overly, and their CEO is basically running the company into the ground. And they're also allegedly removing themselves from Auburn Hills. So Auburn Hills is a suburb of Metro Detroit where you have Ford, Chrysler, and GM. We call it Chrysler. Y'all can call it Stellantis. We've always called it Chrysler. And General Motors is right here in downtown Detroit. Ford Motor Company, they just opened it up in the train station here in downtown Detroit. But they're also in Dearborn. Dearborn is literally like 15 minutes away from here in downtown Detroit. And then Stellantis or Chrysler or Dodge, however you want to label it, is in Auburn Hills, which is, I would say somewhere around 35 to 45 minutes away from here, depending on traffic, right? And so when we call it Detroit Automakers, it's really Metro Detroit, right? So it's Detroit plus all of the surrounding suburbs, because as a city go, in most instances, the rest of the economy goes and we're all tied together, right? So even though General Motors have their headquarters here in Detroit and Stellantis have their headquarters out there in Auburn Hills, Michigan, I'm hearing that, and a little birdie and all of the employees are saying that they basically telling everybody either you're going to take this buyout or we kicking you out. And it's people that's been there for 27 years, 30 years or whatever, but they're looking to ultimately close and then completely ravage the company and maybe even sell assets off from Stellantis because they're absolutely running the company into the ground, 100%. So it's a lot of people that are distraught. They bothered. They don't want to know what they're going to do. And they basically saying either take this severance package voluntarily or we going to involuntarily let you go. And so it's a lot of this that's happening everywhere. Nationwide is laying people off. Plants are laying people off. Really, gig work is the only thing that's thriving. But in a general sense, it's a lot of layoffs everywhere, all over the country. Tech workers are getting laid off. Stock markets is getting hammered. And I would also tell you that one of the reasons why this is an important thing is because what I'm hearing from the Biden and Harris campaign is that they don't want to talk about the state of the economy. They don't want to talk about jobs. They don't want to talk about big tech. They don't want to talk about layoffs. They don't want to talk about inflation. They only want to talk about abortion rights and whether or not you're voting based off of identity politics. The reason why they're having rallies and they're not having conversations to where they can really substantiate why you should vote for them or not is because they're trying to hold on to hopefully win the election by the end of the year. So you're going to see a lot of photo ops. You're going to see a lot of bad deals as far as them trading, the Russian merchant of death for Brittany Griner, the equivalent of. Russia absolutely got a coup in its last take, but Kamala Harris was there in order to really take the photo op to say, hey, we're bringing Americans back home, and we did it right before the election. You're going to see people start to focus on Sonia Massey and the cop shootings and stuff like that because it's all a distraction from the fact that you cannot feed your family. I'll give you an example from a couple different women that's talking about it right here.
So they laid off 19,000 people at my former employer today. I got laid off from there last year, and I worked there for 24 years. And something about today, I handled my layoff quite well. I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't sad or didn't have any emotions. Of course I did. After 24 years getting laid off, that sucks. But I kind of have handled it pretty well emotionally, specifically. I've been a lot better at navigating it than I thought I would be. But today, a year plus later, seeing the announcement today of 19,000 people losing their jobs, and not only that, they decimated the benefits package for the people that are still.
19,000 people losing a job at one time. 19,000 people losing their job at one fell swoop. Every industry is reeling. I don't think y'all realize how important this election is. I don't think y'all realize how bad it really is in these streets. It's people that have been working at these places for close to 30 years. They're being forced into retirement. Not voluntarily. They don't want to go. They are being forced. It is bad. And when I say bad, it is absolutely horrifying of what some of these real Americans every single day that is not being highlighted on social media are dealing with and going through in real life.
Still there, and yes, I have a feeling they're going to cut people's pay and all kinds of stuff, which is just horrible. And it enraged me in a way today that I can't even explain how angry I was. I worked in my backyard on some landscaping for 2.5 hours. I cut my hand. I broke my power washer. I aggressively pruned a lot of trees in my backyard. But when I finally kind of came down and, relaxed and chilled out a little bit and felt the rage
reading
dissipate,
that super chat shortly.
It was the news articles, the news articles and the comments from the C-suite that.
I'm going to show you another video. So this is on the side of the people that's getting laid off. I want to show you on the side of the people that are looking for jobs.
I have been unemployed for what's about to be 6 months, and my unemployment is about to run out.
And also, before we really understand it, the true context of this, unemployment benefits, as far as what you're getting, as far as I know, it changes from state to state. It's not enough money for you to be able to live on and support your families. It's not enough money for you to be able to live on and support your families. Unemployment benefits is something that you pay into, but it is a lifeline that you cannot live off of and feed your families at all. At all. jobless, 6 months, working to try to get they another job before their unemployment benefits run out. Check it out.
At this point, I'm just trying to really understand what is it that the job market is looking for. They say they want years of experience, but they won't give you a chance. Or you network with people and that really doesn't get you anywhere. You have the qualifications and the degrees, but still no bites. I've applied to over like 500 jobs and I've either been rejected by them quickly with an email or I just don't get a response at all. Or I've gone on 3+ interviews and then they tell you that they've gone with another candidate. And let me not even get it started on working with recruiters, and some of them either ghost you or they just forget about you and don't present you to other companies. Then my neighbor, she's in the same predicament, who's also been without a job for almost a year. And this is a woman who's highly qualified for many jobs. The 2024 job market sucks, and it's just like, I don't know what they're looking for. And it really starts to make you question yourself as a person, like, is it me? Am I not qualified enough? You start to question your skill set, because it's like, what do y'all want? LinkedIn doesn't work, Indeed doesn't work. And I mean, I'm not giving up because I'm still trying, but it's like, what is it that y'all need? And I've done the networking. I've sent my resume out to random companies just, while I'm on the computer. Even while I'm driving, I'm writing down companies. At this point, I'm just not sure what else is going to work.
I know one thing is for sure and two things is for certain. We can get into the whole way in which you could, manage yourself. I got the Interview Like a King interview inside of the Patreon. For those of y'all that haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out inside of the Patreon, especially before you go on a job interview. We can get into the resumes and how to make yourself stand out and all of that. But the reality is this. Here's the reality. Is that what's really not being talked about, and the thing that they're not going to discuss publicly with you guys, especially during election season, is the fact that for a lot of people, you are already in a recession. In addition to the fact that prices are too high, in addition to the fact that, it's bad out here in these streets and people can't feed themselves and people don't even want to have children anymore because they think that it's going to be too expensive and all of this stuff. And we got the migrant crisis and all of that. It is a lot of people that are saying that they cannot find a job or they are getting laid off. They can't find a job and they're getting laid off. The economy is hit right now, bro. It is. The markets is getting hammered. Markets is getting hammered. The economy is getting hit. And so if you're not in a position to take advantage of it, it then is going to decimate the middle class even more because poor people have been poor for a long time. And so they just know what survival skills are. People that have resources and money, right? And when I say resources and money, I'm talking about people that understand how money works and they put themselves in a great position, which means that they don't have a lot of debt. Think about it. Think about the trifecta of what's going on right now. You have personal record inflation is exploding. Layoffs and a tough job market. One of the ways you can evaluate whether or not it's actually a recession is by looking at commercial real estate. Commercial real estate in most instances will give you a better pulse on what's happening out here when it comes to the market. Then that starts to ripple over into personal real estate as far as single family homes. Foreclosures are up. Debt is skyrocketing, which means that it's a lot of people that's depending on a debt and credit cards in order to maintain a lifestyle, hoping that they get a job so that they can then pay themselves back or they start to pull money out of their 401k. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people that's pulling money out of their 401ks. They taking the penalty. They taking a hit. They try not to lose their home. They try not to lose their car. They trying to hold out until they can ultimately, hopefully find a job. And they're getting desperate. And it's been like this for a while. And it's just spiraling out of control and it's continuing to go that way. I think that we headed towards a more severe recession that a lot of people don't want to mention and a lot of people don't want to talk about because they don't want to be shamed and they don't want to feel as though they're a bad person for ultimately losing their house and their cars. I see so many people that send me videos of people saying, man, I don't even care no more. I just want to turn this car in. I can't afford it. Even if I did pay the car note, I can't afford the insurance. I can't afford to drive it and put gas in it. I ain't got no man. I need to get with somebody so that somebody can then help me. 50-50 is starting to look real good right now. It's a ton of videos where people are saying, you know what? It's not looking so bad on getting a roommate, getting a partner, maybe getting with that guy that I may not like that much, but we can figure it out together because it's getting bad out here in these streets. When people got money and they flush, they got options. When people start getting dusty and dark, $40 start looking a little better. Start looking a little better. We're going to deep dive into it. I don't want to hold y'all too long because I already done been on here for 2.5 hours, a half hour past the time that I wanted to be on here. But stay vigilant, stay focused. We coming back here tomorrow. We going to hit it. And I'm absolutely going to keep y'all in tune with what's happening in the streets as far as money, politics, and news all across the board. You guys are the greatest audience on earth. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me read some of the super chats, and then I'm going to get y'all up out of here for the day. All right? We got the Q show tonight. Make sure y'all tuned into the Q show. We're going to be rocking out. We're going to be cooking up. And we're going to be talking about all of the different controversial issues that's happening in popular culture. And we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about politics. We may talk about a little bit about relationships. We may talk about controversies, and things like that. Tony Nichols says, Anton, don't always agree, but I rock with you. Can't rock with Donald J. Trump as a standard bearer. Talent gets the bag. Character sustains and bring more bags. There are better options on the red side. Okay, well, you only got 2 options right now. So if you wanted to, talk about what was a better option, whether you wanted to go with Vivek or DeSantis or any of those type of people, but this is your option. So I guess you're telling me you're voting for Kamala. We need an election smoke show. If y'all want an election smoke show, I'm with that. I can do that. I forgot to mention shout out to 2K from Houston. Shout out to 2K. My guy doing great things. 2K is the man. He a beast. Saquon says, Black people shouldn't be married to either political side. We need to think for ourselves and force both parties to promise policies that benefit us if they want our vote. We need to force people to deliver on the things that they say that they're going to do that's best for you. Albino says, okay, I'm sending you 2 vids. Another about how bad Albuquerque is right now. I did in January. Albuquerque used to be a nice town. They're cutting plant jobs hard here in Albuquerque. Thanks, Dem. Shout out to my dog Albino in the building. Or albino, I'm not sure. Chris J says 19,000 people losing their jobs is sad to hear, but employers don't owe you loyalty. They owe you a paycheck for as long as they need you. That is a fact. Shout out to my dog Chris J. He was at the meetup. Resurrect Men's says no more DEI. That's what's happening. Shout out to you. I'm trying to figure out why you type it like that. Hi C Jr. is in the building, says, good morning, Anton. This election is the most important. People need to really get out of their emotions and research. Be good, my friend. Thank you, big dog. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. And then my last but not least, sister in the building, Mr. AB. How is the trade job market? The trade job market is always going to be thriving. But the trade job market is largely dependent on people hiring them and bringing them in to do whatever it is. Right now, the trade job market is fine depending on what you do. Electricians, they always going to be booming. Plumbers, absolutely booming. HVAC, always going to be booming. The trade market is doing well. The trade market is doing well right now. Thank you, sister. Feet Funkerson says, anybody looking for a federal position, I can help with I can help your resume for free. It helps if you're a veteran. Hey, Feet Funkerson, put your contact information inside of the chat so that people can get in contact with you so that they can ultimately have a conversation with you if you just extending that type of help. Now, I want you to understand that there's a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people in here, so don't ask for something that you don't want. Shout out to Emmanuel Williams on Cash App says, in 10 years, you will be bigger than all of the networks. You know, I'm more reluctant to take any deals. I've been having people reach out to me, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think I just may be the type of guy that need to be independent. I think independent suits me. Thank you, Emmanuel Williams. I appreciate you. Illinois Bank says sometimes people need to swallow their pride and get with a temp service or Amazon. That may work. That may work. I do whatever it takes to feed my family, so I'm a little different. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are the greatest audience on earth. Again, make sure you hit a like on your way out the door. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, Tiege Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off your life. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. King Stannis says, I got that 2 ball for you, big dog. Thank you, King. I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for holding me down. All right, y'all. So we back at it in the morning, but tonight we got the Q show, and we're going to be cooking up, and I'm looking forward to having some good conversations. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for always showing love on the Anton Daniels channel. I'm out. Peace.